Have you ever felt like something in your life is waiting for the right moment to appear? Like a piece of guidance, a lesson, or a push that comes exactly when you need it? This book is about that moment. It is designed for people who are ready to face themselves honestly, take control of their lives, and commit to real change. It doesn't promise shortcuts or easy fixes. Instead, it gives you practical tools, daily practices, and clear steps to improve your habits, your mindset, and your resilience. In this book, you'll learn how to take responsibility for your life, build discipline that lasts, and push through fear even when it feels uncomfortable. You'll discover how to trust yourself, stay consistent, and keep moving forward even when progress is slow. You'll also explore ways to let go of energy-draining habits, accept uncertainty, and keep your emotions balanced. Every chapter gives practical advice you can start using today, along with strategies to reflect, learn, and grow in a meaningful way. If you're ready to stop waiting for life to happen and start shaping it yourself, this book is for you. It shows you how to face challenges with courage, act with purpose, and grow steadily every single day. By the end, you'll not only see yourself differently, but you'll also feel capable of handling whatever comes next. This is the guidance you've been ready for, and it's waiting for you now. Chapter 1 scene: Accept responsibility for your life. Starting today, accepting responsibility for your life is not a dramatic moment filled with noise or excitement. It is quiet. It begins internally. It starts when you stop waiting for permission, stop hoping circumstances will change on their own, and stop expecting other people to understand you before you understand yourself. Responsibility is not blame. It is not punishment. It is ownership. It is the moment you decide that your life belongs to you, and because it belongs to you, it is also your duty to care for it, shape it, and direct it with intention. Many people spend years believing their life is happening to them. They believe their past defines them, their environment limits them, and their emotions control them. This belief feels comfortable because it removes pressure. If nothing is your fault, then nothing is your job. But comfort has a cost. The cost is stagnation. The cost is resentment. The cost is waking up one day realizing that time passed, and you did not choose how it was spent. Responsibility may feel heavy at first, but it is the weight that builds strength. Without it, the soul remains passive. With it, the soul wakes up. When you accept responsibility, you stop arguing with reality. You stop asking why life is unfair and start asking what you can do next. You understand that some things were not your choice, but your response always is. This shift does not erase pain, but it gives pain a purpose. It does not remove difficulty, but it gives difficulty meaning. Responsibility is not about controlling everything. It is about controlling what is within reach and releasing what is not. Start by recognizing where you have been giving your power away. Power is given away when you blame your past for your present behavior. Power is given away when you wait for motivation before acting. Power is given away when you expect others to change so that you can feel better. Each time you say you cannot move forward because of something outside you, you hand your life to that thing. Responsibility is the act of taking it back. Taking responsibility does not mean you must fix everything at once. That is unrealistic and unnecessary. It means you stop pretending you are helpless. It means you admit that even small actions matter. It means you accept that the quality of your life is shaped by daily choices more than rare events. You do not need to solve your entire future. You only need to take responsibility for today. Today means how you speak to yourself. Notice the tone of your inner voice. Is it honest or is it avoiding truth? Is it harsh or is it clear? Responsibility begins with honesty. If you are tired, admit it. If you are afraid, admit it. If you have been avoiding something important, admit it. Not to judge yourself, but to see clearly. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Many people confuse responsibility with self-criticism. They think owning their life means being hard on themselves. This leads to burnout and shame. True responsibility is calm. It is steady. It does not yell. It does not panic. It observes and responds. If something is not working, responsibility asks what adjustment is needed. It does not waste energy on regret. Regret looks backward without action. Responsibility looks forward with intent. A practical way to practice responsibility is to audit your daily habits without emotion. Look at how you spend your time. Look at what you consume mentally and physically. Look at how you react under stress. Do not label these things as good or bad. Just notice patterns. Patterns reveal priorities. If your actions do not match the life you say you want, responsibility asks you to align them. Responsibility also means understanding your limits without using them as excuses. You may not have unlimited energy. You may not have perfect conditions. You may not have full support. A responsible person does not wait for ideal circumstances. They work with what they have. They plan realistically. They choose progress over perfection. They understand that consistency matters more than intensity. One of the hardest parts of responsibility is accepting that no one is coming to save you. This is not meant to feel lonely. It is meant to feel empowering. When you stop waiting to be rescued, you start building. You stop searching for the perfect advice and start applying what you already know. You stop consuming motivation and start practicing discipline. Discipline is not forced behavior. It is chosen behavior. It is the agreement you make with yourself to do what matters even when you do not feel like it. Responsibility and discipline are connected. Responsibility decides what matters. Discipline carries it out. Together they create stability. Stability creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. Another part of responsibility is accepting the consequences of your choices without denial. Every action has a result. Some results are immediate. Some are delayed. When you avoid responsibility, you blame outcomes on luck or people or timing. When you accept responsibility, you learn from outcomes. You adjust. You improve. This is how growth becomes inevitable. Responsibility also changes how you see failure. Failure becomes information, not identity. If something does not work, you do not conclude that you are incapable. You conclude that the approach needs refinement. This mindset reduces fear. When fear reduces, action increases. When action increases, life expands. In relationships, responsibility means managing your behavior regardless of how others act. It means communicating clearly instead of expecting others to read your mind. It means setting boundaries without guilt. It means not using anger as an excuse to abandon your values. You cannot control others, but you can control your standards. Responsibility protects those standards. Responsibility also applies to your emotional life. Emotions are signals, not commands. Feeling something does not require acting on it. Responsibility means pausing before reacting. It means asking whether a reaction will help or harm. It means choosing responses that align with long-term peace rather than short-term relief. A simple daily practice is to ask yourself one honest question each evening. Did my actions today reflect the life I want to build? Do not answer with judgment. Answer with clarity. If the answer is no, responsibility does not shame you. It invites correction. Tomorrow becomes another opportunity to align. You may carry guilt about past choices. Responsibility does not deny the past. It learns from it and releases it. Holding guilt without action is another form of avoidance. Responsibility forgives the past by building a better present. Each responsible choice weakens the grip of regret. Accepting responsibility also means caring for your body and mind. Sleep, movement, nutrition, and rest are not optional luxuries. They are foundations. Neglecting them affects everything else. Responsibility treats health as a duty, not a preference. You do not wait until you feel like it. You do what sustains you. At times, responsibility will feel uncomfortable. Growth often does. Comfort keeps you where you are. Responsibility moves you forward. The discomfort of responsibility is temporary. The discomfort of avoidance compounds. Choose wisely. You may feel overwhelmed when you realize how much is within your control. Narrow your focus. Choose one area to improve, one habit to adjust, one promise to keep. Responsibility grows through small wins. Each kept promise builds trust with yourself. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Do not confuse responsibility with rigidity. Life changes, conditions shift. Responsible people adapt. They remain flexible in method but firm in values. They adjust plans without abandoning purpose. This balance keeps progress steady. Another key part of responsibility is owning your attention. What you focus on shapes your experience. If you constantly focus on what is wrong, you reinforce dissatisfaction. Responsibility directs attention intentionally. It focuses on effort, learning, and next steps. This does not ignore problems. It addresses them without obsession. Responsibility also includes choosing who and what influences you. The content you consume affects your thinking. The people you listen to affect your decisions. You are responsible for filtering input. This is not about isolation. It is about discernment. You may encounter resistance from others when you change. Responsibility accepts this without resentment. Growth often disrupts patterns. Not everyone will understand. You do not need approval to move forward. You need alignment with your values. When you accept responsibility, you stop asking for guarantees. There are none. You act anyway. You accept uncertainty as part of the process. Responsibility is not about certainty. It is about commitment despite uncertainty. A responsible life is built through daily structure. Simple routines reduce decision fatigue. Set times for essential tasks. Prepare in advance. Remove unnecessary friction. Responsibility makes good choices easier by designing supportive systems. You will have days when you fall short. Responsibility responds with reflection, not self-attack. What led to this? What can be adjusted? What lesson can be applied? This approach keeps momentum intact. Responsibility also means recognizing when you need help. Asking for guidance is not weakness. It is wisdom. You are responsible for seeking support when needed. Growth does not require isolation. As you practice responsibility, you will notice a shift in how you carry yourself. There is less complaining, less waiting, more clarity, more steadiness. You begin to trust your ability to handle challenges. This trust is earned, not imagined. Over time, responsibility reshapes identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who hopes things work out. You see yourself as someone who acts. This identity reinforces behavior. Behavior reinforces results. Results reinforce belief. The most important moment is not tomorrow or next week. It is now. Responsibility always begins in the present. You do not need to announce it. You do not need to prove it. You demonstrate it quietly through action. Start today by choosing one responsible action. Complete it fully. Then choose another tomorrow. This is how transformation begins. Not through intensity, but through consistency. Accepting responsibility for your life does not make it smaller. It makes it honest. It grounds you in reality. From that ground, you can build something stable, meaningful, and lasting. Responsibility is not a burden placed on you. It is a power you reclaim. When you accept it, you stop drifting. You begin directing. And from that moment, your life starts to reflect your choices rather than your circumstances. Chapter 20. Build daily discipline through small repeated actions. Daily discipline is not built through sudden change or intense effort that burns out quickly. It is built quietly through small actions repeated with patience. Discipline is not about forcing yourself into extremes. It is about training your behavior to move in the right direction even when motivation is absent. Most people wait to feel ready before they act. Disciplined people act first and allow readiness to follow. This difference may seem small, but over time it completely separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Small actions matter because they reduce resistance. The mind resists large commitments, but it accepts manageable tasks. When you lower the size of the action, you increase the chance of consistency. Consistency is what builds discipline, not intensity. One push-up done daily builds more discipline than an hour-long workout done once a month. Discipline grows when the brain learns that action is normal, not special. Many people believe discipline requires a strong personality or special talent. That belief creates distance between where they are and where they want to be. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is a trained response. It is built the same way muscles are built, through repetition under manageable pressure. Anyone can train it, but only those who respect small beginnings succeed. Start by choosing actions so small they feel almost too easy. This is not weakness. It is strategy. If you want to read more, read 1 page daily. If you want to exercise, start with 2 minutes. If you want to write 1 sentence. The goal is not achievement. The goal is consistency. Each completed action sends a signal to your mind that you follow through. Over time, this signal becomes your identity. Discipline becomes difficult when people attach emotion to the outcome. They expect results immediately. When results do not appear, they quit. Discipline does not chase results, it commits to process. Results are a byproduct, not the focus. When you detach from outcome and commit to repetition, discipline becomes sustainable. A powerful way to strengthen discipline is to fix the time and lower the demand. Choose a specific time for your habit and reduce the effort required. When the time arrives, you act regardless of how you feel. You do not negotiate. You do not debate. You simply show up and do the minimum required. This removes decision fatigue and builds reliability. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about being honest. If you fail to act, acknowledge it without excuses. Then return to the habit at the next opportunity. Missing once does not break discipline. Quitting does. Disciplined people recover quickly. They do not turn small failures into reasons to stop. Your environment plays a major role in daily discipline. If your surroundings encourage distraction, discipline becomes harder. If your environment supports action, discipline becomes easier. Responsibility includes shaping your environment. Place reminders where you can see them. Remove friction from positive habits. Add friction to habits that waste time. Discipline improves when the environment works with you rather than against you. Another key element is tracking. Not for pressure, but for awareness. Marking a habit as done creates a sense of completion. It reinforces progress. Seeing a chain of completed actions builds momentum. The goal is not perfection. The goal is continuity. Tracking keeps discipline visible. Discipline also improves when actions are connected to identity. Instead of saying you want to exercise, see yourself as someone who moves daily. Instead of wanting to learn, see yourself as someone who studies regularly. Each small action then becomes proof of who you are becoming. This identity-based approach removes the need for constant motivation. There will be days when energy is low. Discipline does not demand full effort on those days. It demands presence. Even reduced action maintains the habit. A short walk still counts. A brief review still counts. Showing up matters more than performance. This mindset keeps discipline intact during difficult periods. Avoid comparing your progress to others. Comparison distracts and discourages. Discipline is personal. Your pace must match your capacity. What matters is direction, not speed. Each small action moves you forward. Over time, distance is created. Discipline also requires clear priorities. You cannot be disciplined in everything at once. Choose a few habits that matter most. Protect them. When priorities are unclear, discipline weakens. When priorities are defined, decisions become easier. Rest is part of discipline. Ignoring rest leads to exhaustion and resentment. Discipline respects limits. It plans recovery. Sustainable effort requires balance. Rest is not quitting. It is preparation. Daily discipline strengthens emotional stability. When you keep promises to yourself, self-trust grows. When self-trust grows, confidence follows. Confidence reduces hesitation. This cycle reinforces itself. Discipline becomes easier as the system strengthens. There will be moments when boredom appears. Boredom is not a signal to stop. It is a sign that discipline is working. Repetition often feels dull. Growth does not always feel exciting. Discipline continues anyway. This ability to act without stimulation is a powerful advantage. Discipline also improves decision-making. When habits are established, fewer decisions are required. Energy is preserved for meaningful choices. This clarity reduces stress and increases focus. Over time, small actions compound. The effects may be invisible at first. This invisibility causes many to quit. Discipline trusts the process even when results are delayed. Patience is part of discipline. A useful practice is to review your day briefly. Ask whether you kept your commitments. If not, adjust tomorrow. This reflection keeps discipline aligned without judgment. Discipline is built one action at a time, not through force, but through repetition, not through emotion, but through structure, not through perfection, but through persistence. You do not need to feel strong to act. Strength is built through acting. Begin where you are. Choose small actions. Repeat them daily. Discipline will grow quietly, and as it grows, so will your ability to shape your life with intention and stability. Chapter 30. Release past pain by practicing honest self-reflection. Releasing past pain does not happen by pretending it never existed. It happens when you are willing to face it without distortion, drama, or denial. Honest self-reflection is not about reliving wounds or assigning blame. It is about seeing clearly how past experiences shaped your reactions, beliefs, and choices. Pain that is ignored does not disappear. It settles into behavior. It shows up as fear, avoidance, anger, or self-doubt. Reflection brings that pain into awareness, where it can finally lose control. Many people avoid self-reflection because they confuse it with self-criticism. They fear that looking inward will make them feel worse. In reality, avoidance is what keeps pain active. Reflection done honestly and calmly reduces emotional weight. It allows you to separate what happened from who you are now. You begin to see events as experiences rather than definitions. This shift restores inner balance. Honest reflection starts with slowing down. Pain hides in noise. Constant distraction keeps emotions unresolved. Silence creates space for truth to surface. This does not require long hours or dramatic effort. A few quiet minutes daily are enough. Sit with yourself and notice what thoughts return repeatedly. Repeated thoughts often point to unresolved pain. When reflecting, the goal is not to judge your past self. The goal is to understand them. At the time, you acted with the awareness and tools you had. Seeing this clearly removes unnecessary guilt. Guilt without learning serves no purpose. Understanding leads to release. Ask yourself simple, direct questions. What experience still affects my reactions? What situation makes me emotionally tense? What memory carries unfinished emotion? Do not force answers. Let them arise naturally. Reflection is not interrogation, it is observation. As memories surface, notice the emotions attached. Sadness, anger, regret, fear. Allow them to exist without acting on them. Emotions lose intensity when they are acknowledged without resistance. This process requires patience. Rushing it creates suppression. Staying present allows integration. Reflection also involves recognizing patterns. Pain often repeats until it is understood. Similar conflicts, similar disappointments, similar self-sabotage. Patterns reveal lessons waiting to be learned. Once a lesson is learned, repetition loses its purpose. It is important to distinguish responsibility from blame during reflection. Responsibility focuses on learning. Blame focuses on punishment. You can acknowledge your role in situations without attacking yourself. This balanced view promotes growth rather than stagnation. Writing can support reflection, not to create perfect narratives, but to externalize thoughts. Write freely without editing. Let honesty guide the process. The act of writing organizes emotion. It creates distance between you and the pain. This distance allows clarity. Another part of honest reflection is questioning beliefs formed through pain. Painful experiences often create protective beliefs that no longer serve you. Beliefs such as trusting leads to hurt or effort leads to disappointment. Reflection examines whether these beliefs are still valid. Many were useful once but now limit growth. Reflection also includes forgiveness. Not forced forgiveness, but earned release. Forgiveness is not approval of harm. It is acceptance that holding resentment drains your energy. Forgiveness frees attention for present living. It does not require reconciliation. It requires clarity. Some pain is connected to unmet expectations. Reflection reveals where expectations were unrealistic or unspoken. Understanding this reduces resentment. It teaches realistic boundaries moving forward. Reflection also means acknowledging grief. Loss is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is the loss of potential, safety, or trust. Grief that is ignored becomes heaviness. Grief that is felt becomes acceptance. Avoid turning reflection into rumination. Rumination repeats the story without learning. Reflection seeks insight and then moves forward. When you notice repetitive thinking without progress, redirect focus to lessons gained. Reflection should end with integration. Ask how the insight can guide future behavior. Pain becomes meaningful when it informs wiser choices. Without integration, reflection remains incomplete. Honest self-reflection strengthens emotional maturity. It reduces reactivity. It increases self-understanding. It builds inner stability. A person who understands their pain is less controlled by it. Reflection also deepens compassion. When you understand your own struggles, judgment toward others softens. This does not excuse behavior, but it reduces hostility. Compassion creates calm. Over time, reflection changes your relationship with memory. Memories lose emotional charge. They become information rather than triggers. This transformation restores mental freedom. You may encounter resistance during reflection. This is normal. Resistance indicates sensitive areas. Move slowly. Respect your limits. Reflection is not a race. It is a gradual process. Reflection also requires honesty about current behavior. Past pain often explains present habits. Avoidance, control, perfectionism. Recognizing this connection empowers change. Practice reflection consistently. Short daily moments are more effective than rare deep sessions. Consistency builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. You do not need to revisit every painful memory. Focus on those that influence your present. Releasing one core wound often eases many symptoms. Reflection brings closure where life did not. Closure does not require answers from others. It comes from understanding yourself. As reflection deepens, emotional resilience increases. You become less reactive to reminders of the past. You regain choice. Releasing past pain does not erase history. It removes emotional captivity. You remember without reliving. Honest self-reflection transforms pain into wisdom. Wisdom creates steadiness. Steadiness supports growth. This process requires courage. Facing inner truth is not easy, but avoidance costs more over time. Each moment of reflection strengthens self-trust. You learn that you can face discomfort without breaking. Pain released becomes energy reclaimed. Energy reclaimed fuels present action. Through reflection you reclaim authorship of your story. The past becomes a chapter, not the whole book. With each honest look inward, emotional weight lightens. Space opens for peace. This is how release happens. Quietly, gradually, honestly, through reflection that respects truth and invites growth. Chapter 40: Strengthen resilience by choosing effort over comfort. Choosing effort over comfort is a deliberate habit that builds mental toughness and practical capability. It means preferring the route that requires work when the easier option offers short-term relief. Making that choice repeatedly trains the mind to respond with action rather than avoidance. The aim is not to seek pain but to become reliable under pressure so that challenges do not derail progress. Begin by noticing how often comfort shapes decisions. Pay attention to the small moments when a softer option is taken because it feels easier. These moments are the true test of resilience. Each avoided challenge reduces your capacity to face harder problems later. Changing this begins by changing the small decisions you make every day. Create a simple list of daily micro-efforts that are intentionally slightly uncomfortable. These are not feats of endurance. They are manageable actions that push your threshold a little further. Examples include standing while studying instead of sitting, choosing a brisk walk over an extra hour of screen time, or writing for 5 focused minutes before checking messages. The specific tasks matter less than the habit of choosing action when comfort calls. Use a rule to decide in the moment. When faced with a choice between immediate comfort and deliberate effort, ask this single question silently: which option moves me forward? Answering briefly removes excuses and clarifies practical priorities without drama. Over time, the habit of asking and acting on this question becomes automatic. Structure your day so that effort happens early. When the most demanding tasks are scheduled first, they require less emotional negotiation. Early effort reduces the chance that fatigue or distraction will remove your willpower later. Begin with one predictable, challenging task each morning and treat it as non-negotiable. Completing it creates a foundation of competence for the rest of the day. Measure effort in consistent units rather than in vague intentions. Track small wins with clear markers. For example, record the number of focused work sessions completed or the number of times you chose a healthy meal over a quick snack. Tracking removes illusion and makes progress visible. Visible progress motivates repeated effort. Apply progressive steps to build capacity. Start with an amount of difficulty you can complete reliably and increase it slowly. If a habit is too demanding, it will be abandoned. If it is too easy, it will not strengthen resolve. Incremental increases preserve momentum and expandability without producing burnout. Practice making decisions without seeking comfort cues. Many choices are made in reaction to emotion rather than reasoning. When discomfort appears, pause and breathe for a count of 4. This short delay creates an opening to choose deliberately. Choosing to act after a breath trains the nervous system to accept controlled discomfort more readily. Adopt a policy of short, hard bursts and planned recovery. Effort does not mean constant strain. There is strength in cycles. Work intensely on a task for a fixed interval, then rest. This method keeps performance high and reduces resentment. Recovery should be intentional and honest, so that effort and rest work together rather than working against each other. Use language that reinforces responsibility. Replace phrases that reduce agency with statements of ownership. Instead of saying, "I have to do this," say, "I choose to do this because it matters." The wording shifts the mind from passive to active and supports consistent effort. Practice deliberate exposure to small stressors that teach adaptability. These do not have to be extreme. Choosing to carry a heavier load at the gym for one additional set or speaking first in a group once per week are examples that build resilience. Each successful exposure increases confidence and reduces avoidance. Set boundaries to protect effort time. People and distractions will encroach on plans unless limits are set clearly. Inform others of your schedule and design environments that support focused work. Removing interruptions preserves the energy needed for sustained effort. Keep commitments to yourself as sacred. When a promise is broken to yourself, trust erodes. Make only those promises you intend to keep and follow through. Consistent follow-through is evidence of strength. It is the most reliable builder of self-trust. Learn to recognize productive discomfort as distinct from harmful strain. Productive discomfort is temporary and leads to growth or progress. Harmful strain is prolonged and destructive. If a practice consistently damages health or relationships, it needs adjustment. Resilience is wise, not reckless. Record how effort changes outcomes. After making intentional choices, write a quick note about what happened. Observations are powerful because they show cause and effect. They reveal which efforts lead to useful change and which ones need rethinking. This feedback loop makes effort efficient rather than blind. Surround yourself with signals that encourage steady work. Visual cues such as a notebook on the desk or a checklist on the wall reduce friction when it is time to act. Design the environment so the easier choice is also the constructive choice. Small design changes make choosing effort simpler. Accept that discomfort will trigger resistance. Resistance is a natural response to change. Name it when it appears and respond with a clear action rather than argument. Identify the next smallest step and take it. Momentum is built by quick practical responses, not long debates with doubt. Cultivate patience as a companion to effort. Immediate returns are rare for meaningful work. Durable results usually grow slowly. Patience supports steady repetition and prevents the mistake of abandoning efforts that have not yet paid dividends. Commit to the timeline that the work needs rather than the timeline desire demands. Use accountability to strengthen commitment. Share a concrete weekly action with another person and report back. The obligation to report reduces the chance of slipping into comfort. Choose someone who speaks honestly and holds standards gently but firmly. Reflect on past times when choosing effort changed outcomes. Recall a specific example and analyze the steps taken. This reflection reinforces belief that effort is effective and anchors future action in real evidence rather than hope. Break large challenges into identifiable, manageable tasks. The mind resists large, nebulous tasks because they feel overwhelming. Clear, smaller actions reduce avoidance. Each completed step provides a factual win that decreases resistance for the next step. Practice saying no without guilt. Saying no to immediate comfort often means saying yes to long-term goals. Declining pleasurable distractions is an expression of respect for the future you are building. Short refusals accumulate into a strong life. Build rituals that make effort habitual. Rituals remove constant decision-making. A simple pre-work routine primes the body and mind to perform. Rituals can be as simple as preparing a workspace the same way each time or using a brief breathing exercise before work. Observe energy patterns and schedule effort accordingly. Some people have peak focus in the morning, others later in the day. Align the most demanding tasks with natural highs. When energy dips, use those periods for lower effort maintenance tasks rather than forcing high performance. Practice forgiveness for lapses and return quickly to the plan. Perfection is not required. A single missed day should be treated as a data point, not a sentence. Fast recovery protects the streak and prevents collapses into extended comfort. Train emotional tolerance by facing small social discomforts. Saying a difficult truth kindly or asking for what is needed builds interpersonal resilience. Social skill is a form of practical strength that reduces anxiety and conserves energy over time. Make growth visible by documenting small wins publicly if appropriate. Sharing progress to a modest group increases accountability and celebrates incremental effort. Praise should be honest and focused on process rather than empty motivation. Balance effort with nourishing practices. Strong effort requires good sleep, proper nutrition, and movement. These supports make sustained work possible. Neglecting foundational needs undermines resilience over time. Choose projects that align with values. Effort is sustainable when it connects to something worth pursuing. When effort serves a clear purpose, it is easier to accept temporary hardship and maintain direction. Commit to a weekly review where progress is assessed and plans are adjusted. Use this time to celebrate real gains and remove or modify efforts that do not serve. Regular reviews keep work practical and maintain focus on meaningful action. Embody the principle of incremental challenge, repetition, and honest evaluation. Resilience grows when effort is consistent, measured, and wisely directed. The combination of small regular demands and careful attention to results builds a durable capacity to face larger problems without panic. Begin today by selecting one small deliberate effort you will do every day for a week and track it. Make the choice now and act. Repeating this sequence transforms preference for comfort into a habit of purposeful effort over time. Chapter 50. Commit to growth even when progress feels slow. Growth often moves at a pace that feels uncomfortable to the human mind. The mind wants signs, milestones, proof that effort is working. When those signs do not appear quickly, doubt begins to speak. Commitment weakens not because growth has stopped, but because it has become quiet. This is the moment that defines long-term change. Committing to growth when progress feels slow is not about optimism. It is about maturity. It is about trusting process over emotion. Slow progress tests patience because it removes excitement. Early stages of change often feel energizing. New habits feel fresh. Motivation feels strong. Then the novelty fades. The work becomes ordinary. This is where many people stop. They mistake boredom for failure and silence for stagnation. In reality, this phase is where real growth happens. Foundations are built quietly. Skills deepen without applause. Identity shifts without announcement. To commit during slow periods, you must first redefine progress. Progress is not always visible improvement. Sometimes progress is showing up despite lack of reward. Sometimes progress is not quitting when nothing seems to change. These moments strengthen inner resolve. They train endurance. They separate those who grow temporarily from those who grow permanently. One of the most practical shifts is to stop measuring growth by emotion. Feelings are unstable indicators. Some days effort feels productive. Other days it feels pointless. Neither feeling determines reality. Growth responds to consistency, not mood. Acting only when you feel encouraged creates gaps. Acting regardless of feeling creates continuity. A helpful practice is to focus on behaviors rather than results. Results fluctuate and lag behind effort. Behaviors are immediate and controllable. If you commit to the behavior, results will eventually follow. This removes pressure. It allows you to judge success by actions taken rather than outcomes achieved. Another challenge during slow growth is comparison. Looking at others creates false timelines. Everyone begins at a different point with different resources. Comparison shifts focus outward and erodes patience. Commitment requires inward focus. Measure progress against your past self, not against someone else's highlight. Slow growth often brings doubt about direction. You may question whether your effort is aimed correctly. Instead of abandoning the path, refine it. Adjust methods while maintaining commitment. Growth is not stubborn repetition of ineffective actions. It is steady effort guided by reflection. There will be periods where effort produces no visible reward. These periods are not wasted. They develop skills that cannot be rushed. Discipline deepens. Awareness sharpens. Emotional tolerance increases. These changes support future breakthroughs even if they remain unseen now. To stay committed, create routines that operate independently of motivation. Routines protect effort during low enthusiasm. When actions are scheduled and expected, they continue even when confidence dips. This structure reduces reliance on willpower. It is also important to limit constant evaluation. Checking progress too frequently amplifies impatience. Growth needs time between assessments. Daily action combined with weekly or monthly reflection maintains balance. Action stays consistent. Evaluation stays realistic. Slow progress often reveals inner resistance. Old habits resist replacement. Comfort resists challenge. Recognize resistance without dramatizing it. Resistance does not mean you are failing. It means you are changing. Continue anyway. Commitment also involves accepting uncertainty. You may not know exactly when results will appear. Waiting for certainty delays action. Commitment acts without full assurance. This willingness builds courage. Celebrate small internal wins. Improved focus. Better decision-making. Increased self-respect. These shifts matter even if external results lag. Acknowledge them. They are signs of alignment. When discouragement appears, return to purpose. Remember why you started. Purpose steadies effort when excitement fades. Purpose does not shout, it grounds. Avoid the temptation to overhaul everything when progress feels slow. Large changes often disrupt consistency. Small adjustments preserve momentum. Maintain core habits while refining approach. Commitment is reinforced by evidence of persistence. Look back at what you have already maintained. Past consistency proves capacity. Use this evidence to counter doubt. Slow progress teaches patience, humility, and trust. These qualities are not built through quick wins. They form through sustained effort without guarantees. These qualities strengthen character. You may feel invisible during this phase. Progress unnoticed by others tests self-validation. Commitment continues without external praise. This builds independence. Rest without quitting. Fatigue can mimic discouragement. Proper rest restores clarity. Quitting removes opportunity. Commitment also means forgiving yourself for temporary lapses. One missed action does not erase growth. Resume without self-attack. Recovery speed matters more than perfection. Slow growth develops resilience. It trains you to operate without constant reward. This resilience becomes an advantage in complex goals. As time passes, small gains accumulate, skills integrate, habits stabilize, results begin to appear quietly. Often they surprise you because you stopped expecting them daily. Growth rarely announces itself. It reveals itself when you look back and realize you handle situations differently. This change was built during the slow days. Commitment is not dramatic. It is steady. It is choosing to continue without needing reassurance. The ability to stay committed during slow progress is a form of strength. It reflects trust in yourself and respect for process. Continue acting. Continue refining. Continue learning. Slow progress is still progress. This commitment builds a life that does not collapse under delay. It builds depth. Growth rewards patience with permanence. Chapter 6: Train your mind to focus on controllables. Training your mind to focus on what you can control is one of the most practical skills for stability and progress. Much of mental exhaustion comes from investing attention in outcomes, opinions, timing, or behavior that you cannot direct. When the mind spreads itself across uncontrollable factors, energy drains quickly and clarity disappears. Focusing on controllables restores order. It simplifies decision-making and returns authority to where it belongs. Begin by understanding a basic truth. Not everything deserves your attention. Attention is a limited resource. Where you place it determines how you feel and how you act. When attention is wasted on what cannot be changed, frustration grows. When attention is placed on actions and choices within reach, momentum returns. Controllables are simple: your effort, your preparation, your attitude, your response, your discipline. These are always available regardless of circumstances. Even in difficult conditions, these elements remain within reach. Training the mind means repeatedly redirecting focus back to these elements whenever distraction appears. The mind naturally seeks certainty. It wants guarantees. When certainty is absent, it tries to control outcomes through worry. Worry creates the illusion of control while providing none. Recognize worry as misplaced focus. When you notice it, gently redirect attention to the next practical action. This redirection weakens worry over time. A useful daily practice is to pause and ask one question before acting. What part of this situation is within my influence right now? Answer honestly and act only on that part. This practice reduces overwhelm because it narrows the field of responsibility. You stop carrying burdens that do not belong to you. Many people confuse planning with control. Planning prepares action. Control demands certainty. Train yourself to plan thoroughly, but accept that outcomes will vary. This balance keeps effort strong without emotional attachment to results. Focusing on controllables also improves emotional regulation. Emotions often arise from expectations placed on uncontrollable factors. When expectations are adjusted toward effort instead of outcome, emotional swings soften. You become steadier. Another effective approach is to separate information gathering from rumination. Information supports action. Rumination repeats fear. Set limits on how much information you consume. Once enough is gathered to act, stop. Action clarifies more than overthinking. Language matters in training the mind. Replace statements that emphasize helplessness with statements of agency. Instead of saying, "This ruined my day," say, "I will adjust and continue." This shift reinforces focus on response rather than circumstance. Practice acceptance without passivity. Acceptance acknowledges reality as it is. Passivity avoids action. Accept what cannot be changed and act decisively on what can. This combination is strength. External validation is another distraction from controllables. Seeking approval places focus on others' reactions. Approval is not within control. Act according to values and standards. Let outcomes follow. Train attention through repetition. Each time the mind wanders to uncontrollable concerns, gently bring it back. This is not suppression. It is redirection. Over time, redirection becomes habit. Create reminders in your environment. Notes, alarms, simple phrases. These cues prompt focus shifts when stress rises. Environment supports mental training. Focusing on controllables also improves resilience. When unexpected events occur, the mind trained in controllables adapts faster. It asks what can be done now rather than why this happened. This reduces paralysis. Another important aspect is letting go of imagined futures. The mind often reacts to scenarios that do not exist. Return focus to present actions. The present contains the only leverage you have. Control what you consume mentally. News, conversations, and media shape thought patterns. Limit exposure to content that fuels anxiety. Choose input that supports clarity and action. Practice this skill during small inconveniences, delays, minor mistakes, interruptions. These moments are training grounds. Respond calmly. Adjust behavior. Continue forward. Small wins strengthen capacity for larger challenges. Focusing on controllables also improves relationships. You stop trying to manage others' emotions. You communicate clearly and act respectfully. You release responsibility for reactions. This creates healthier dynamics. When mistakes occur, focus on correction rather than blame. Blame focuses outward. Correction focuses inward. Correction produces improvement. Set goals based on behavior rather than results. For example, commit to daily practice rather than success metrics. This keeps motivation steady and reduces anxiety. You may feel relief when you stop carrying uncontrollable weight. Mental space opens. Decision-making sharpens. Energy returns. This training requires patience. The mind will wander. Redirect it without frustration. Each redirection strengthens control. Over time, focusing on controllables builds quiet confidence. You trust your ability to respond regardless of circumstance. This trust reduces fear. A mind trained this way is not rigid. It is flexible. It adapts quickly because it does not cling to outcomes. Begin today. Choose one situation causing stress. Identify what you can control. Act on it. Release the rest. Repeat daily. This practice builds mental discipline and emotional stability. When attention stays anchored to controllables, life feels simpler. Not because it is easier, but because effort is placed where it matters. This focus restores balance and progress. It is a skill worth practicing every day. Chapter 7. Create structure that supports consistent daily improvement. Create a dependable framework for improvement that removes uncertainty and frees energy for meaningful work. Good structure is not a rigid prison, but a clear map that lets you move without wasting willpower. Define the essential activities that produce the results you want and make those activities visible every day. Decide which few habits matter most and arrange the day so those habits are protected before anything else can interfere. Use a single trusted calendar and place core commitments there as immovable appointments. Treat those entries the same way you treat compulsory obligations so that personal projects gain equal standing with external demands. Assign fixed windows for focused work practice and guard them with short deliberate signals, such as a timed chime or a closed door. When focus periods are predictable, the brain stops negotiating and simply does the work. Reduce daily decision load by creating simple rules for common choices so energy is not wasted on minor matters. Rules can be as specific as a 5-step morning sequence or as broad as a 2-minute rule for clearing distractions. The value of rules is consistency, not complexity. Build rituals that make the start of effort almost automatic. A consistent pre-work routine primes attention and reduces the friction that otherwise delays action. Use physical triggers like placing a single notebook on the desk or setting a particular object in view to cue the beginning of practice. Keep a whiteboard or visible list that shows today's 3 top tasks so attention remains on what moves you forward. Limit that list to a number you can realistically complete and remove anything that is not essential. Structure benefit grows when paired with realistic pacing. Decide how long you will work in concentrated bursts and schedule short recovery after each block. This pattern preserves stamina and keeps effort sustainable for weeks and months. Track progress with a simple system that rewards continuity. Marking off a habit each day creates visual momentum that supports follow-through more than occasional praise. Use a habit tracker or calendar marks and review chains weekly to see real evidence of progress. Regular review sessions are the backbone of a structure that adapts and improves. Once per week, examine what worked, what drained energy, and what needs changing, then adjust the plan rather than abandoning it. Small course corrections performed consistently beat dramatic overhauls performed rarely. Design your environment so it supports the life you want to live. Remove obvious distractions, put useful tools within reach, and make the easiest choice also the best choice. Use technology to automate repetitive tasks and set limits where technology steals attention. Use timers, focus apps, and schedule do not disturb windows to create friction against wandering attention. When commitments require others, respect the power of clear agreements. Communicate specific deliverables, deadlines, and boundaries so interruptions are reduced. Making agreements explicit reduces the emotional cost of saying no later. Protect time by batching similar activities together so context switching is minimized. When related tasks are grouped, they require less mental shifting and yield better quality work. Create templates for recurring work so setup time is removed and execution becomes smoother. Simple checklists reduce the chance of skipping important steps and free mental space for important judgment calls. Keep margin inside your schedule to handle inevitable unexpected demands. Planning every minute creates brittle structure that collapses under small disruptions. Buffer time preserves calm and prevents one small delay from derailing the entire day. Frame goals as processes, not outcomes, and align daily tasks with these ongoing processes. When the system is oriented to process, the individual actions gain meaning without needing continuous external validation. This perspective reduces the pressure to perform and increases steadiness. Make learning a built-in part of the routine by scheduling short, focused reflection windows. Use those moments to capture lessons, refine methods, and record what to try next. Reflection converts raw experience into usable knowledge and prevents repeated mistakes. Commit to a small daily reading or study block that sharpens skill and widens perspective. Even 15 minutes daily compounds into significant advantage over months. Anchor new habits to existing ones through stacking so that behavioral change leans on established patterns rather than fighting against them. For example, place a brief planning session after breakfast or a short writing burst after evening teeth brushing. Clear pairing removes ambiguity about when new actions occur. Assign accountability that matters. Report progress to a thoughtful peer mentor or a small group and make the reports brief and specific. Public commitment increases the cost of skipping and supplies external feedback that improves performance. Keep commitments to yourself visible by writing them where you see them often and revisiting them each morning to set attention. Use concrete measurement for the most important activities even when numbers feel crude. Track minutes spent, practice words, written repetitions completed, or pages read. These metrics are not perfect, but they provide objective signals to guide adjustment. Avoid over-measuring everything because complexity kills momentum. Choose a handful of meaningful indicators and focus on them. Protect energy as a primary resource by structuring sleep, movement, and nutrition into the plan. Reliable sleep times, a short movement break, and simple healthy meals reduce decision fatigue and improve cognitive performance. When physical needs are neglected, structure will fail because planning requires capacity to execute. Embrace constraints as design tools rather than limitations. Fixed times, limited resources, and simple boundaries force creativity and prioritize effectively. Working within clear constraints reduces the paralysis that comes from endless possibility and focuses effort toward what matters. Build a system for handling interruptions that prevents a cascade of reactive choices. Have a single place to collect incoming requests and a short triage routine to decide what to act on, what to delegate, and what to defer. Defining these rules in advance prevents emotional reactivity and preserves priority work. Celebrate small wins and honor progress, rituals that recognize continuity, not only big milestones. Simple acknowledgements strengthen motivation and make the structure emotionally sustainable. Remove perfection as a requirement for systems to remain useful. The goal of structure is to enable steady action, not to create flawless execution. Adjust expectations to allow for human inconsistency and design recovery paths that restore momentum quickly after slips. Keep strategic reviews simple and focused on high-leverage questions such as what do I need to stop doing, what should I start, and what needs refinement. Use those answers to update the next week's plan. Let the plan be practical and short so it is easy to follow and harder to ignore. Use tools selectively rather than adopting every productivity fad. A few well-used practices outperform many unused ones. Invest time in mastering the basics of time blocking, focused work, and minimal planning before layering complexity. Empower transition rituals that close one work period and open the next so mental reset happens reliably. A brief movement breath or a quick tidy reinforces boundary clarity and signals the brain to shift modes. Teach yourself to protect evening time by creating a simple shutdown routine that captures incomplete tasks, sets priorities for the next day, and creates mental closure. Ending the day with clarity reduces ruminating and improves morning focus. Remember that structure must serve life, not the reverse. Regularly ask whether the system supports your values, relationships, and well-being, and change elements that create unnecessary stress. Structure earns its keep by enabling sustained improvement, by making the important habitual the default, and by removing the need to negotiate every choice anew. Implement these principles step by step, keep the system small and reliable, and allow it to evolve through regular honest review so daily improvement becomes an expected outcome of how life is organized rather than a constant struggle against chaos. Chapter 80. Practice silence to hear your inner direction. Silence is not empty space. It is a working condition for clarity. When noise fills every moment, inner direction becomes difficult to recognize. Constant input trains the mind to react instead of reflect. Practicing silence restores balance by creating room for understanding to surface. This practice is not about isolation or withdrawal from life. It is about intentional pauses that allow judgment to sharpen and purpose to reappear. Most people confuse silence with inactivity. Silence is active attention without external demand. It is the decision to stop feeding the mind with constant stimulation. Phones, conversations, notifications, and opinions crowd awareness. Over time, this crowding dulls intuition. Silence removes the crowd so that quieter signals can be noticed. These signals often appear as subtle preferences, steady convictions, or clear resistance to certain paths. Begin by setting small windows of silence into the day. These windows do not require perfect conditions. A few minutes without sound or screens is enough. Sit or stand comfortably and keep the body relaxed. Allow thoughts to pass without following them. The goal is not to stop thinking, but to stop chasing thought. When attention rests, deeper guidance has a chance to emerge. Silence reveals what has been ignored. When the noise stops, emotions and unfinished decisions often rise to awareness. This can feel uncomfortable at first. Discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that attention has been restored. Stay present without judgment. Label sensations simply as tension, curiosity, or resistance. Naming without reacting stabilizes the experience. Practicing silence also clarifies values. In noise, values are borrowed from others. In silence, values are tested against inner response. Notice what ideas feel heavy and what feels steady. Direction often appears as a calm sense of alignment rather than excitement. Trust calm over intensity. Calm lasts longer and guides better decisions. Create a regular practice that anchors silence to a predictable time. Morning works well because the mind is less cluttered. Evening also works because reflection consolidates the day. Choose one and protect it. Consistency matters more than duration. 5 minutes daily is better than an hour once a week. During silence, ask one simple question and then wait. What matters most today? Do not force an answer. Allow it to arise naturally. Often the answer is practical and immediate rather than grand. Direction usually points to the next small step, not the entire path. Silence also improves decision quality by reducing impulsive behavior. When a decision appears urgent, pause before acting. Take a breath. This pause creates space for reason to speak. Many poor choices are made to escape discomfort. Silence exposes this pattern and restores control. Avoid turning silence into another task to perform perfectly. There is no score. Some days will feel scattered. Some days will feel clear. Both are acceptable. The practice works through repetition, not through immediate calm. Reduce background noise in daily life. Lower unnecessary audio. Walk without headphones occasionally. Eat without screens. These moments of quiet integrate silence into normal routines. Integration strengthens awareness beyond formal practice. Silence also helps you hear internal resistance. Resistance often signals misalignment. Instead of pushing through automatically, examine resistance during quiet moments. Ask whether it reflects fear or wisdom. The difference becomes clearer when noise is absent. Another benefit of silence is emotional regulation. Emotions processed in quiet lose intensity. Reactivity decreases. You respond rather than react. This steadiness improves relationships and work quality. Practice silence when feeling overwhelmed. Overwhelm is often caused by too many inputs competing for attention. Silence simplifies. It reduces complexity by narrowing focus to what is essential. Silence does not eliminate problems. It clarifies them. Clear problems are easier to solve than vague anxiety. Clarity restores confidence. Create a physical space that supports quiet. It does not need to be large or special. It needs to be consistent. The mind associates location with behavior. A regular spot strengthens habit. Silence also strengthens self-trust. When you listen inwardly and act accordingly, confidence grows. You learn that guidance comes from within, not from constant advice. Avoid filling silence immediately with conclusions. Allow insights to mature. Some guidance needs time to settle. Act on what feels steady rather than urgent. Silence improves focus because it trains sustained attention. This skill transfers to work and learning. Attention becomes less fragmented. When doubts arise, return to silence rather than seeking reassurance externally. External reassurance is temporary. Internal clarity endures. Silence also reduces comparison. Without exposure to others' progress, your own path becomes clearer. This reduces unnecessary pressure. Include brief silent pauses before important conversations. This centers intention and improves communication. Silence teaches patience. It slows the impulse to rush toward resolution. Patience leads to better outcomes. Over time, silence reveals patterns in thought and emotion. Awareness of patterns allows conscious change. Avoid interpreting silence as withdrawal from responsibility. It is preparation for effective action. Direction found in silence is often simple and demanding. It asks for consistency rather than drama. Trust the process even when nothing seems to happen. Silence works quietly. Practice silence daily. Let it become familiar. In quiet moments, direction becomes audible, not loud, not commanding, clear and steady. This clarity guides action with confidence and restraint. Silence is a discipline that strengthens judgment. Through silence you learn to listen. Through listening you learn to choose wisely. This is how inner direction becomes reliable. Chapter 19. Develop self-trust through keeping small promises. Self-trust is not built through bold declarations or dramatic changes. It is built quietly through behavior that proves reliability over time. Each small promise you make to yourself is a test. Each kept promise is evidence. Each broken promise weakens confidence. Developing self-trust is therefore not about motivation or belief. It is about consistency between intention and action. Most people struggle with self-trust because they set promises that are too large or too vague. They promise to change their life, transform their habits, or become disciplined overnight. When these promises fail, the mind learns an important lesson, though not the one intended. It learns that words do not lead to action. Over time, this creates inner doubt. The solution is not more promises. The solution is smaller promises that can be honored daily. A small promise is clear, realistic, and specific. It is something you can do even on a difficult day. Examples include reading one page, walking for 5 minutes, or preparing tomorrow's plan before sleeping. These actions may feel insignificant, but they carry weight because they are repeatable. Repeatability is the foundation of trust. When you keep a small promise, the mind registers alignment. This alignment creates calm. Calm strengthens confidence. Confidence reduces hesitation. Over time, this chain reaction becomes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. Self-trust grows through repetition, not intensity. Intense effort performed once does not convince the mind. Consistent effort performed daily does. The mind believes patterns more than intentions. Patterns signal reliability. Avoid making promises during emotional highs. Promises made in excitement are often unrealistic. Make promises during calm moments. Calm promises are more accurate. Accuracy protects trust. Start each day by choosing one small promise you intend to keep. Write it down. The act of writing clarifies commitment. Keep the promise regardless of mood. Mood is not a valid excuse. Completion matters more than feeling ready. Do not add extra conditions to your promises. If you promised 5 minutes, do 5 minutes. Doing more is optional but not required. Over-delivering occasionally is fine, but never replace consistency with intensity. Consistency builds trust faster. Breaking a promise to yourself carries a cost. The cost is subtle but cumulative. Each break teaches the mind to doubt future intentions. When a promise is broken, acknowledge it honestly. Avoid excuses. Reset immediately with a smaller promise. Recovery speed matters more than perfection. Self-trust also improves when promises are time-bound. Vague commitments are easy to ignore. Specific timing creates structure. Decide when the action will happen and attach it to an existing routine. Avoid promising outcomes. Promise actions. Outcomes depend on many variables. Actions depend on you. Promising outcomes risks disappointment and erodes trust. Promising actions strengthens control. Treat promises to yourself with the same respect you give to promises made to others. Many people protect external commitments but neglect internal ones. This imbalance damages self-respect. Internal promises deserve equal priority. Track your kept promises visually. A simple mark on a calendar creates tangible proof. Proof strengthens belief. Belief supports action. Self-trust also grows when you stop making promises you do not intend to keep. Overpromising is a form of self-sabotage. It creates a cycle of guilt and avoidance. Make fewer promises and keep them consistently. Use language that reinforces agency. Say I will do this rather than I should do this. Words shape commitment. Clear language supports follow-through. Self-trust reduces anxiety. When you trust yourself, you worry less about the future. You know you will act appropriately when needed. This confidence is stabilizing. Small promises also train discipline. Discipline is the habit of acting despite resistance. Each kept promise strengthens this habit. Avoid comparing your pace to others. Self-trust is personal. Your progress depends on your consistency, not speed. Include promises related to rest and care. Overworking erodes trust as much as avoidance. Balanced promises support sustainability. When you feel discouraged, return to basics. Choose one promise and keep it. Momentum rebuilds from small wins. Self-trust changes decision-making. You stop hesitating because you trust your follow-through. This reduces mental noise. Over time, self-trust strengthens boundaries. You say no more easily because you respect your commitments. Self-trust also improves resilience. When challenges arise, you rely on your habits rather than panic. Avoid perfectionism. Perfectionism demands flawless performance. Self-trust requires reliability. Reliability is attainable. Celebrate kept promises quietly. Acknowledge progress internally. Recognition reinforces behavior. If circumstances change, renegotiate promises honestly. Rigidity breaks trust. Honest adjustment preserves it. Self-trust develops through daily evidence. Evidence is created through action. Each kept promise reinforces identity. Identity reinforces behavior. This cycle grows stronger with time. Begin with one small promise today. Keep it, repeat tomorrow. Over weeks and months, self-trust becomes natural. You stop doubting your ability to act. You stop waiting for confidence. Confidence arrives through consistency. This is how self-trust is built, not through force. Through follow-through. Chapter 100A. Let go of habits that drain your energy. Energy is a limited resource, and how it is used determines both productivity and clarity. Habits that drain energy silently weaken resolve, cloud judgment, and reduce capacity for meaningful work. These habits are often subtle. They do not announce themselves as harmful. They appear as convenience, distraction, or avoidance, and over time they accumulate into a heavy burden that limits personal growth. Recognizing and releasing them is essential to reclaiming mental, emotional, and physical strength. Begin by observing daily patterns without judgment. Notice the moments when motivation fades, attention scatters, or fatigue feels sudden. These moments are signals that energy is being drained. Keep a simple log for a week, recording what activities, interactions, or routines precede the feeling of depletion. Patterns will emerge. Awareness is the first step toward change. Next, identify habits that are unnecessary or unproductive. This may include constant checking of messages, scrolling through social media, overconsumption of entertainment, staying in negative conversations, or repetitive worrying. These behaviors are familiar and may feel comfortable, but they consume energy without yielding value. Ask a simple question about each habit. Does this action improve my focus, my mood, or my capacity to achieve my goals? If not, it is a candidate for elimination. Prioritize which habits to release first. Attempting to eliminate everything at once overwhelms the mind and triggers resistance. Select one or two that are most visibly draining and begin with those. Small, focused change produces more sustainable results than broad, sweeping intentions. Replace energy draining habits with constructive alternatives. Empty spaces left by old routines are often filled automatically if not guided. Plan for replacement actions that restore energy, such as brief walks, reading, journaling, meditation, or focused work periods. Replacement reinforces the new behavior while reducing the pull of the old. Practice mindful awareness when engaging with habits that remain necessary but consume energy. For example, if responding to emails is unavoidable, set strict time blocks and limit engagement outside those periods. Energy drains when attention is fragmented. Structuring unavoidable tasks protects focus and preserves vitality. Set boundaries around energy-draining interactions. Some relationships or conversations repeatedly leave you frustrated, anxious, or drained. While complete avoidance may not be possible, limiting exposure and controlling the timing or duration creates protection. Communicate boundaries clearly and act consistently. Be willing to simplify routines. Complexity requires constant decision-making, which consumes mental energy. Streamline tasks by creating predictable sequences for common activities. Reduce unnecessary choices in daily life. Simplicity strengthens willpower and preserves attention. Observe emotional triggers that feed habits which drain energy. Anger, resentment, boredom, and anxiety often lead to repeated behaviors that feel relieving in the moment but leave residual fatigue. Pause when the trigger appears. Recognize it. Then choose a different response that sustains energy rather than depletes it. Practice saying no. Energy-draining habits often persist because of automatic compliance. Saying no protects mental and physical resources. This applies to commitments, requests from others, or habitual reactions that demand effort unnecessarily. Each refusal strengthens control and reduces cumulative fatigue. Use environment strategically. Remove or limit access to cues that initiate draining habits. If certain apps, notifications, or locations trigger energy loss, alter the environment to reduce temptation. Design surroundings to support focus, calm, and productivity rather than distract constantly. Examine self-talk. Internal habits can drain energy as much as external ones. Repetitive negative thoughts, doubt, or self-criticism consumes mental bandwidth. Recognize patterns and redirect thoughts toward practical, constructive reflection. Writing thoughts down or reframing statements helps prevent mental depletion. Set realistic expectations. Overcommitting creates an invisible drain. When expectations exceed capacity, energy disperses across too many demands, leaving little for meaningful action. Regularly review tasks and responsibilities and adjust them according to available resources. Monitor physical contributors to energy loss. Poor sleep, inadequate nutrition, and lack of movement amplify the effects of mental and emotional drains. Integrate basic health habits alongside habit elimination. When body energy is restored, mental clarity and resilience improve, making the process of releasing draining habits easier. Track progress and reflect on changes. Notice how removing or reducing energy-draining habits affects focus, motivation, and emotional state. Document improvements and remaining challenges. Evidence of change reinforces discipline and encourages continued adjustment. Avoid self-judgment for prior engagement in energy-draining behaviors. The goal is not shame but deliberate choice. Awareness and action now are more valuable than regret over past inaction. Accept responsibility calmly and redirect effort toward positive adjustment. Gradually increase self-imposed limitations on minor energy drains. For instance, shorten time spent on low-value tasks or reduce multitasking. Incremental adjustments accumulate into significant improvements in stamina and focus. Celebrate the restoration of energy. Notice how the mind feels clearer, emotions stabilize, and productivity increases. Recognizing these gains reinforces the value of letting go and creates positive feedback for future behavior. Develop a routine review process to identify new habits that may be draining energy. Life changes and new routines appear continuously. A weekly or monthly check-in ensures that energy management remains active rather than reactive. Practice self-compassion alongside habit change. Eliminating energy-draining behaviors is not effortless. Occasional lapses occur. Respond with understanding and return immediately to constructive choices. Resilience grows when recovery is prioritized over perfection. Anchor new energy-supporting habits to existing routines to strengthen consistency. Attach a brief meditation to a morning routine, a walk after lunch, or a reflective pause before sleep. Habit stacking reduces resistance and reinforces the new pattern. Recognize that energy-draining habits often serve hidden purposes, such as temporary relief from boredom or anxiety. Address these needs directly with constructive alternatives rather than ignoring them. This reduces the chance of reverting to old habits under stress. Prioritize tasks that provide visible returns on effort. Energy spent on low-impact activities may feel productive momentarily but leaves long-term depletion. Focus on what moves progress forward. Keep accountability in place. Share goals with a trusted peer or mentor who supports your energy management process. Even brief reports or check-ins increase commitment and reduce unconscious indulgence in draining habits. Develop rituals for transition. When shifting from a high-drain activity to a restorative one, use a short physical or mental cue to signal the change. This helps the brain detach and conserve energy. Integrate periods of deliberate rest. Releasing energy-draining habits is only part of the solution. Recovery must be intentional. Short periods of rest, deep breathing, or reflection refresh capacity and prevent rebound fatigue. Evaluate media and information consumption. Overexposure to negative or irrelevant content drains focus. Curate sources that inform, support, or motivate without overwhelming attention. Measure outcomes by energy gained rather than only productivity achieved. Feeling capable, clear, and calm is a primary metric for successful elimination of draining habits. Begin immediately with one habit. Observe it, limit it, or replace it with a supportive alternative. Commit for 1 week and track the effects. Small, consistent efforts compound into meaningful restoration. Over time, letting go of energy-draining habits becomes natural. The mind recognizes which actions sustain it and which diminish it. Awareness becomes automatic. Energy management is the foundation for all other personal growth. Without sufficient energy, action, focus, and resilience are impaired. Releasing draining habits frees space for meaningful work, creativity, and calm. The process strengthens self-awareness, discipline, and decision-making capacity. By consistently choosing to let go of what exhausts you, life becomes clearer, more intentional, and more aligned with goals. Chapter 11. Choose courage by acting despite fear daily. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act even when fear is present. Fear is a natural signal designed to alert the mind to potential danger, but it does not always indicate real risk. Many fears are mental constructions, anticipating negative outcomes that may never occur. Acting despite fear strengthens confidence, expands capability, and reshapes identity. Choosing courage is a deliberate daily practice, not a rare heroic moment. Each day presents countless opportunities to face small fears. Each small act of courage compounds into a resilient mindset capable of facing larger challenges without hesitation. Begin by recognizing fear without judgment. Fear often feels like tension, racing thoughts, or a tightening in the body. Observe these sensations and acknowledge them as indicators of perceived risk, not as commands to retreat. Naming the emotion reduces its automatic power. Awareness creates a space between stimulus and reaction, allowing conscious choice. Commit to one courageous action each day. Courage grows through repetition. The action need not be monumental. It may be speaking up in a meeting, reaching out to someone you respect, starting a difficult conversation, or initiating a new task you have been postponing. These small acts train the mind to prioritize principle over comfort. Repetition builds momentum that strengthens willpower and self-belief. Acting despite fear requires preparation. Assess the situation and determine the steps necessary to proceed safely. Preparation reduces uncertainty, which in turn diminishes excessive anxiety. Planning does not eliminate fear entirely, but transforms it into constructive energy. Use practical steps, checklists, or rehearsal to gain confidence while still acknowledging fear. Refocus attention on controllable elements. Fear often exaggerates outcomes beyond what can be influenced. Identify what is within your ability to manage and act on those elements first. When energy is directed toward influence rather than speculation, fear diminishes and clarity emerges. Break larger fearful actions into smaller components. Facing a daunting task as a whole can overwhelm. Dividing it into manageable pieces creates a progressive exposure that builds courage gradually. Each completed step reinforces the belief that fear can be met successfully. Visualize acting despite fear before executing the task. Mental rehearsal allows the mind to become familiar with the sensation of discomfort while reinforcing the desired behavior. Visual practice reduces hesitation and strengthens neural pathways associated with confidence. Acknowledge fear but avoid over-identifying with it. Fear is a temporary state, not a permanent characteristic. Separate your identity from the sensation. Say to yourself, "This is fear, it does not define me." This mindset prevents fear from dictating choices. Use past experience as evidence. Recall moments when you acted despite fear and achieved a positive or neutral outcome. Remember that discomfort does not equal failure. Reviewing prior success builds internal proof that courage produces tangible results. Daily courage requires discipline. Motivation fluctuates, and fear can appear stronger on certain days. Commit to acting consistently regardless of feeling brave. Discipline is the mechanism that transforms sporadic courage into habit. Pair courageous actions with reflection. After completing a feared task, evaluate what was learned and how fear shifted during execution. Reflection consolidates lessons and strengthens future performance. Identify what strategies worked and what can be improved. Create a support system. Share intentions to act courageously with trusted allies. External accountability increases commitment. Knowing someone else is aware of your effort enhances follow-through. Avoid relying entirely on validation. The primary reward is internal evidence of action. Practice physical grounding when fear arises. Fear triggers physiological responses that can escalate avoidance. Deep breathing, steady posture, and controlled movement signal to the body that action is possible. These small physical adjustments enhance mental clarity. Challenge the narrative fear constructs. Fear often presents hypothetical worst-case scenarios as absolute truths. Examine these assumptions critically. Separate imagination from reality. Acting in spite of fear is facilitated by assessing risk accurately rather than being controlled by exaggerated outcomes. Integrate courage into small daily decisions to reinforce patterning. Open a conversation you might avoid, try a new method at work, or ask a question you feel hesitant about. These everyday acts establish a baseline of courage that supports larger challenges. Avoid procrastination as it strengthens fear. Delay gives fear time to grow unchecked. Immediate action, even imperfect, reduces the intensity of fear and builds momentum. Action itself erodes the imagined threat. Develop resilience alongside courage. Failure, discomfort, and mistakes will occur. Courage is not about perfect outcomes, but about continuing to act despite setbacks. Each recovered attempt reinforces persistence and confidence. Monitor self-talk. Fear is amplified by statements like "I cannot," "I am not ready," or "this is too risky." Replace these with statements of agency and capability. Words shape perception and action. Internal encouragement supports deliberate choice. Practice incremental exposure to increasingly challenging fears. Start with manageable discomfort and gradually expand. Each successful exposure strengthens neural and psychological pathways associated with bravery and self-efficacy. Accept uncertainty as an inevitable aspect of courageous action. Complete knowledge is impossible. Courage thrives not in certainty, but in willingness to act responsibly despite unknowns. Trust that clarity will increase through engagement rather than waiting passively. Recognize that courage also requires boundary awareness. Acting despite fear does not mean recklessness. Separate fear that signals real danger from fear that signals opportunity for growth. Judicious courage strengthens wisdom. Celebrate each act of courage privately. Internal acknowledgement reinforces identity. Recognizing that action was taken despite discomfort strengthens habit formation. Avoid external comparison. The true measure of courage is personal alignment. Use fear as a teacher rather than an obstacle. Fear highlights areas for growth. Reflect on recurring fears and explore what skills, knowledge, or experience could reduce their power. This approach transforms fear from adversary to guide. Incorporate courage into habitual routines. For example, choose one action each morning that requires stepping slightly outside comfort. Over time, this creates a natural expectation of deliberate boldness as part of daily rhythm. Document experiences of acting despite fear. Journaling creates tangible evidence that reinforces belief in capability. Patterns of repeated success strengthen self-efficacy and reduce the perceived intensity of future fear. Understand that courage is cumulative. Single acts of bravery may feel small, but repeated practice creates a robust mental framework capable of handling greater adversity without panic. Choose courage actively each day. Seek opportunities where fear signals growth. Recognize that avoidance may feel safe temporarily but reduces capacity permanently. Action in the presence of fear reshapes identity. Over time, courage becomes a defining habit. Fear no longer dictates the terms of engagement. Decisions emerge from principle rather than hesitation. Confidence grows steadily. Daily courage builds resilience, clarity, and self-respect. It trains the mind to respond deliberately rather than reactively. Fear is acknowledged but does not control behavior. Through repeated action, courage integrates into character. Life becomes navigated with deliberate choice, even when uncertainty persists. The practice of choosing courage daily transforms challenges into opportunities and fear into a guide for growth. Chapter 12. Improve awareness by observing thoughts without judgment. Awareness begins with noticing without interference. The mind produces thousands of thoughts each day, most unnoticed yet influencing emotions and behavior. Observing thoughts without judgment means allowing them to arise and pass without labeling them as good, bad, right, or wrong. This simple practice creates clarity by separating perception from reaction. Awareness grows when you treat thoughts as transient events rather than absolute truths. When observation becomes habitual, mental clutter decreases and decision-making improves. Start by dedicating time daily to sit quietly and simply watch the mind. No effort is needed to change thoughts or control them. Let thoughts emerge naturally. When one appears, acknowledge it mentally and return attention to observing rather than analyzing. This trains detachment and strengthens focus. Observe patterns rather than isolated thoughts. Notice which topics recur, which emotions accompany certain ideas, and how certain mental loops repeat automatically. Patterns reveal tendencies, triggers, and priorities that are otherwise unconscious. This insight allows informed action rather than reactive behavior. Avoid judging thoughts. Resistance to unwanted thoughts amplifies them. Judgment creates tension, distraction, and energy loss. Labeling a thought as negative reinforces attachment to it. Instead, acknowledge the thought and allow it to fade naturally. Observation without evaluation strengthens mental clarity and emotional stability. Use the breath as an anchor. When attention drifts into judgment or story-making, gently return focus to the rhythm of breathing. The breath provides a constant reference point and reduces the pull of distraction. Consistent anchoring trains the mind to remain present even amidst emotional arousal. Record observations if needed. Writing down recurring thoughts, triggers, or reactions strengthens awareness. Journaling provides a tangible record of mental patterns that can be reflected on later. Reflection consolidates understanding and guides conscious decision-making. Expand awareness beyond thought to emotion and sensation. Thoughts often trigger subtle bodily responses that precede conscious recognition. Observe tension, restlessness, warmth, or tightness without judgment. Physical observation enriches mental awareness and highlights automatic reactions that influence behavior. Notice the distinction between observation and reaction. Observation is passive noticing. Reaction is active engagement, often fueled by instinct or habit. Increasing awareness teaches the mind to pause before acting. This pause creates space for choice, strengthening self-control and intentionality. Practice observing thoughts across different contexts. Morning, work, social interactions, and evening routines provide varied mental landscapes. Consistent practice across contexts enhances general awareness rather than isolated moments of calm. Recognize intrusive or repetitive thoughts without trying to suppress them. Attempting to block thoughts creates tension and strengthens their presence. Observation without interference allows the mind to process naturally and release automatically. Develop curiosity toward thoughts. Instead of fearing or resisting unwanted ideas, explore their origin, emotional tone, and potential lessons. Curiosity transforms observation from passive noticing into active learning without judgment. Use daily interruptions as practice. When distractions or negative thoughts arise, label them mentally and return to observation. Treat these moments as training opportunities. Each interruption navigated without judgment strengthens resilience. Observe thought speed and rhythm. Notice how some ideas appear rapidly, while others linger. Awareness of pacing helps distinguish between reactive impulsivity and deliberate thinking. Over time, you learn to slow responses intentionally. Integrate observation into movement. Activities such as walking, stretching, or exercising provide opportunities to observe thoughts while engaging the body. Awareness in motion trains multitasking attention and prevents mind wandering from dominating action. Notice mental storytelling. The mind naturally constructs narratives around events, feelings, or future possibilities. Observe these narratives as constructions, not facts. Recognizing stories prevents unnecessary emotional escalation and reduces over-identification with imagined outcomes. Observe assumptions and biases in thought. The mind often evaluates reality through habitual frameworks. Awareness of these patterns allows conscious reappraisal rather than automatic judgment. This strengthens discernment and decision-making. Avoid expectation of immediate calm. Awareness is not about producing serenity instantly. It is about practicing attention and detachment consistently. Gradual change occurs as mental clarity accumulates. Patience reinforces persistence. Practice awareness during decision-making. Notice thoughts that push toward action, hesitation, or avoidance. Observing these impulses without immediate reaction provides insight into motivations and hidden fears. This creates space for deliberate, intentional choices rather than reactive responses. Notice emotional charge in thoughts. Some ideas carry energy that influences mood. Observation without judgment reduces intensity and prevents escalation. Neutral witnessing allows emotions to flow without controlling behavior. Use mindfulness cues to strengthen awareness. Brief pauses throughout the day to observe thoughts and sensations reinforce mental habits. These cues may be tied to routine actions such as washing hands, drinking water, or standing up. Repetition embeds awareness into daily life. Observe how attention shifts naturally. Notice where the mind wanders, what captures focus, and what it ignores. Awareness of attention patterns highlights priorities, distractions, and potential areas for improvement. Recognize that judgment-free observation does not imply passivity. Awareness informs choice and action. Observing thoughts reveals what is useful, harmful, or irrelevant. Insight emerges from observation, guiding behavior intentionally. Track improvements in clarity and focus. Over weeks of consistent practice, mental noise diminishes, emotional regulation strengthens, and decision-making becomes more deliberate. These changes confirm the value of sustained observation. Apply awareness to internal dialogue. Notice self-criticism, worry, or indecision without judgment. Awareness reduces reactivity and strengthens emotional resilience. The mind learns to respond rather than be driven by automatic thoughts. Recognize mental attachment. Observe tendencies to cling to certain ideas or interpretations. Awareness teaches flexibility and prevents rigid thinking. Detachment allows choices aligned with reality rather than habitual narrative. Use awareness to identify energy drains. Thoughts that persistently create stress or anxiety consume resources. Observing without judgment exposes these patterns, enabling conscious reduction or redirection. Practice observing expectations without attachment. Expectations often lead to disappointment or frustration. Neutral observation highlights gaps between desire and reality without creating unnecessary tension. Develop self-trust through consistent observation. Recognizing thoughts objectively strengthens confidence in judgment. When the mind is clear, decisions become more aligned with values and priorities. Extend observation to future-oriented thoughts. Notice planning, anticipation, or worry without being swept into speculation. Awareness preserves focus on present action while informing preparation strategically. Integrate observation into communication. Notice thoughts before responding to others. Awareness prevents reactive speech and promotes intentional expression. Notice habitual judgments toward others. Observation without judgment reduces interpersonal conflict and increases clarity in relationships. Recognize assumptions as constructions rather than truths. Celebrate subtle improvements in mental clarity. Awareness grows incrementally. Small shifts accumulate into lasting change. Each observation strengthens detachment, focus, and understanding. Over time, observing thoughts without judgment transforms mental habits. Reactivity diminishes, emotional turbulence stabilizes, decision-making improves. Presence and clarity become natural, forming the foundation for deeper personal growth and intentional living. Chapter 33: Build patience through steady effort without quitting. Patience is cultivated through deliberate and consistent effort rather than through sudden bursts of action or intense motivation. It is a skill that grows when the mind learns to remain steady despite delays, obstacles, or discomfort. The ability to continue working toward goals without quitting distinguishes those who achieve meaningful outcomes from those who abandon pursuit at the first sign of difficulty. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active engagement with consistency and perseverance. Each small effort compounds over time, producing results that cannot be rushed. Understanding this principle is essential for lasting personal growth and resilience. Begin by setting realistic expectations for progress. Immediate results are rare in any significant pursuit. When expectations align with reality, the mind avoids frustration and fatigue. Recognize that mastery, improvement, and success are the products of cumulative action. This mindset shifts focus from instant gratification to steady progress. Establish routines that support repeated effort. Structure daily or weekly activities to ensure consistent engagement. Small actions performed reliably reinforce skill development, habit formation, and discipline. Consistency is more important than intensity. Even minimal effort applied every day accumulates into substantial improvement over time. Break larger goals into manageable components. Large objectives can overwhelm and induce impatience. Segment tasks into achievable steps and focus on completing each step thoroughly. Completing small segments builds momentum, fosters satisfaction, and sustains motivation. Monitor personal reactions to delays or setbacks. When impatience arises, acknowledge it without judgment. Identify the source, whether it is fear, comparison, or frustration, and redirect focus to the immediate step you can control. Observation strengthens self-regulation and prevents impulsive decisions that undermine long-term goals. Use incremental challenges to strengthen patience. Gradually increase the complexity, duration, or intensity of tasks rather than attempting drastic changes. This approach allows the mind and body to adapt naturally while avoiding burnout. Each small victory reinforces the value of steady effort. Maintain focus on effort rather than outcome. Outcome is influenced by variables beyond your control, but effort is entirely dependent on your actions. Committing to consistent effort fosters resilience and reduces anxiety about results. The act of doing becomes the metric of progress. Reflect regularly on progress to recognize growth. Documenting completed actions, incremental improvements, and lessons learned reinforces the connection between patience and tangible advancement. Reflection prevents discouragement by highlighting the slow but steady accumulation of effort over time. Develop self-discipline to resist shortcuts. Patience is undermined when convenience is chosen over persistent action. Discipline is the reinforcement that keeps the mind aligned with long-term goals despite immediate discomfort or temptation. Each choice to continue strengthens the neural and psychological pathways associated with resilience. Practice mindfulness to maintain presence during effort. Anxiety about future results or regret over past delays distracts from the immediate task. Observing thoughts and sensations without judgment while maintaining action strengthens patience and focus simultaneously. Cultivate routines for sustained energy and focus. Adequate rest, proper nutrition, and regular physical activity enhance the ability to maintain steady effort. The mind and body work together. Energy management supports patience by reducing fatigue that triggers impulsive quitting. Embrace discomfort as part of the process. Growth often involves physical, mental, or emotional strain. Patience develops when you recognize discomfort as an inherent component of progress rather than a signal to stop. Learning to endure manageable discomfort strengthens resilience and character. Avoid comparing progress with others. Patience requires individual focus and context. Comparison fuels frustration, impatience, and distraction. Concentrate on your own incremental steps, recognizing that steady action produces results over time. Use small rewards to reinforce consistent effort. Celebrating minor accomplishments encourages continuation without creating dependency on external validation. Rewards should acknowledge persistence rather than instant achievement. Develop contingency strategies for inevitable setbacks. Obstacles are unavoidable in meaningful endeavors. Planning for challenges and creating alternative approaches reduces the temptation to quit and maintains forward momentum. Anticipation strengthens patience by framing difficulties as temporary rather than permanent barriers. Strengthen mental endurance through repetitive practice. Repeated engagement with tasks, especially those that challenge comfort, trains persistence. Each repetition reinforces patience by demonstrating the ability to sustain action over time without succumbing to frustration or distraction. Focus on process rather than perfection. Obsessing over flawless performance can undermine patience and lead to quitting. Accept that mistakes, adjustments, and gradual learning are integral components of steady effort. This mindset reduces self-criticism and supports perseverance. Visualize long-term success while acting in the present. Visualization motivates by providing context for sustained effort. Pairing forward-looking clarity with immediate action reinforces the value of continuing patiently, even when visible progress is slow. Integrate patience into decision-making. Avoid hasty choices based on temporary emotions or pressure. Deliberation strengthens judgment and ensures actions align with strategic goals rather than impulsive reactions. Practice consistency in low-stakes areas to reinforce patience. Completing small daily tasks reliably trains the mind to tolerate delays and maintain engagement. These experiences prepare you for challenges in higher-stakes situations. Develop accountability systems to maintain steady effort. Sharing commitments with trusted peers or mentors increases adherence to routine and reinforces the habit of patience. External accountability complements internal discipline and reduces the likelihood of quitting. Use reflection to identify patterns that undermine patience. Recognize triggers for impatience, such as fatigue, distraction, or unrealistic expectations, and develop strategies to mitigate them. Self-awareness allows intentional responses rather than reactive withdrawal. Anchor patience in values and purpose. When effort aligns with meaningful principles or long-term goals, persistence becomes easier. A clear sense of purpose sustains motivation when immediate results are absent. Avoid seeking constant feedback. Excessive reliance on validation can erode patience by promoting dependency on immediate reassurance. Trust the process and internal evaluation of effort as primary measures of progress. Maintain adaptability while sustaining effort. Patience does not mean rigid adherence to one approach. Adjust methods as needed without abandoning the underlying commitment to consistent action. Flexibility preserves momentum and reduces frustration. Develop rituals that reinforce persistence. Simple routines such as reviewing goals, planning steps, or tracking completion enhance the habitual nature of steady effort. Rituals provide structure that supports ongoing engagement. Observe cumulative effects of small actions. Patience is reinforced when the gradual accumulation of effort becomes visible. Recognizing compound growth motivates continued persistence, even when progress initially appears invisible. Practice gratitude for the capacity to engage steadily. Appreciating the ability to act consistently fosters motivation and reduces focus on frustration, reinforcing patience as a sustainable mindset. Recognize that steady effort without quitting is a skill developed over time. Each day of persistence strengthens neural, emotional, and behavioral patterns that support long-term achievement. The combination of realistic expectations, structured routines, reflection, mindfulness, and incremental action creates a resilient approach to challenges. Patience becomes a natural response rather than a forced practice. Through steady effort, the mind learns to tolerate discomfort, manage uncertainty, and remain committed to long-term goals. This capability becomes a foundation for self-discipline, resilience, and consistent personal growth. Mastery of patience transforms the approach to life. Tasks are approached deliberately, challenges are endured without frustration, and goals are pursued without haste. The ability to persist without quitting becomes a defining characteristic that supports all other aspects of meaningful achievement. Daily commitment to effort without yielding strengthens character and ensures that progress is not dependent on temporary motivation. Each small act of perseverance compounds, ultimately producing significant results that cannot be achieved through impulsive action alone. Steady effort without quitting is not effortless. It requires conscious attention, self-regulation, and deliberate repetition. Over time, these practices solidify into a habitual approach to life, providing stability, focus, and resilience. The practice of building patience through steady effort shapes not only outcomes, but also the person who undertakes them. The discipline of continuation cultivates mental toughness, clarity, and self-trust. Each day invested in consistent action becomes a step toward mastery and self-mastery simultaneously. Persistence transforms challenges into lessons, delays into opportunities for refinement, and effort into evidence of capability. Through repeated practice, patience becomes an enduring strength, guiding the mind and actions toward long-term achievement and a resilient life. Chapter 4: Align daily actions with values you respect. Living a life aligned with your values is one of the most effective ways to create clarity, purpose, and consistent progress. Values are the principles that define what matters most to you. They guide decisions, influence behavior, and shape identity, yet many people act daily without considering whether their actions reflect these values. Over time, this misalignment creates tension, dissatisfaction, and a sense of wasted effort. Aligning daily actions with values is not a philosophical exercise, it is a practical strategy for meaningful growth and sustained motivation. Each choice becomes deliberate, each effort purposeful, and each day more fulfilling. Begin by clarifying your values. Reflection is essential. Identify what principles you hold in high regard: honesty, discipline, kindness, growth, responsibility, creativity, or perseverance. Write them down and ensure they resonate deeply. Avoid superficial or aspirational values that sound impressive but do not genuinely reflect your priorities. True values are those that guide your behavior even when it is difficult. Once values are clear, examine your daily routines. Observe where time, energy, and attention are currently spent. Compare these actions to the values you have identified. Identify areas of misalignment where effort, habit, or choice contradicts what you respect. Awareness of the gap between actions and values is the first step toward correction. Decide on small adjustments to align behavior with values. Start with manageable actions that can be consistently applied. For example, if one of your values is honesty, ensure your communication is truthful in daily interactions. If growth is a value, dedicate time to learning or skill development each day. Incremental changes build alignment gradually and sustainably. Integrate values into planning. When scheduling tasks, prioritize those that reflect core principles. Each decision about what to work on, whom to meet, or how to spend time should consider whether it serves the values you hold. This practice transforms planning into a conscious tool for living deliberately. Use daily reflection to reinforce alignment. At the end of each day, review your actions and ask whether they reflected your values. Note successes and areas for improvement. Honest evaluation strengthens self-awareness and encourages adjustments in behavior. Reflection prevents drift away from intentional living. Avoid compromising values for short-term convenience. Temptations to bypass principles often appear as easier or faster solutions. Each compromise weakens integrity and creates inner tension. Commit to taking the action that aligns with values, even if it requires additional effort or courage. Create reminders of values in your environment. Visual cues, notes, or digital prompts help maintain focus throughout the day. Repeated exposure reinforces the importance of principles and guides decision-making automatically. The environment should support deliberate living rather than distraction or contradiction. Observe how social interactions affect alignment. Certain relationships may encourage behavior that contradicts your values. Monitor these influences and establish boundaries when necessary. Surround yourself with people who respect and reflect principles you admire, reinforcing your own commitment to living accordingly. Develop habits that directly express values. Habits are repeated behaviors that form identity. Aligning habits with values solidifies them in daily life. For example, if compassion is valued, integrate helping others or attentive listening as consistent practices. Consistent habit alignment strengthens character and internal coherence. Examine motivations behind actions. Ensure that choices are guided by principle rather than external validation, fear, or desire for comfort. Alignment requires authenticity, acting according to internal standards rather than responding passively to circumstances or pressure. Use challenges as opportunities to test alignment. Difficult situations reveal whether principles are genuinely followed or only theoretical. Acting consistently under stress demonstrates commitment and builds integrity. Each choice to remain aligned strengthens resilience and self-trust. Prioritize actions that produce long-term value over short-term gain. Values often guide toward decisions that may not produce immediate gratification, but create enduring benefit. Patience and discipline are reinforced when outcomes reflect underlying principles rather than fleeting advantage. Evaluate the influence of digital and informational environments. Media consumption and online activity often subtly shape priorities. Align engagement with content that reinforces values and contributes positively rather than draining attention or encouraging distraction. Practice intentional language. Words reflect and shape principles. Speak and write in ways that demonstrate integrity, respect, and clarity. Verbal consistency with values strengthens internal and external coherence. Integrate values into goal setting. Goals should serve principles rather than exist independently. When actions contribute to meaningful objectives aligned with values, effort is energized and sustainable. Goals disconnected from values may lead to hollow achievement. Observe the emotional response to aligned actions. When behavior reflects values, feelings of clarity, calm, and purpose emerge. Conversely, misalignment often produces guilt, frustration, or fatigue. Emotional feedback provides guidance for ongoing adjustment. Teach and model values through action. Actions influence both self-perception and others. Demonstrating alignment strengthens confidence in principles and encourages accountability. Living visibly by values reinforces commitment and reduces the tendency to compromise silently. Practice daily prioritization based on values. Not all tasks or obligations are equally important. Choosing which actions to focus on through the lens of principle ensures that effort produces meaningful impact, rather than being wasted on trivial or misaligned activities. Develop resilience when values are challenged. Acting consistently may provoke resistance, criticism, or inconvenience. Anticipate these pressures and maintain commitment to principles. Each moment of adherence strengthens discipline, self-respect, and influence. Reflect periodically on values themselves. Life experiences and growth may shift priorities. Ensure that actions continue to reflect authentic principles rather than outdated notions. Values alignment is dynamic and requires ongoing attention. Recognize the compounding effect of daily alignment. Small, consistent choices guided by values accumulate over weeks, months, and years into a coherent, intentional life. Integrity becomes evident in patterns of behavior, decision-making, and relationships. Address conflicts between values with thoughtful resolution. Occasionally, principles may appear to compete in practice. Evaluate situations carefully and choose actions that best reflect core priorities. This practice reinforces discernment and deliberate decision-making. Monitor energy levels in relation to alignment. Misalignment often produces internal friction, distraction, and fatigue. Actions consistent with values conserve energy, focus, and motivation. Awareness of this correlation reinforces the importance of intentional living. Anchor habits to values using tangible cues or rituals. For example, starting the day with a reflection on principles ensures that choices remain guided by what matters most. Regular reinforcement prevents drift into automatic or habitual behaviors that contradict values. Develop a feedback system for alignment. Seek input from mentors, peers, or self-assessment tools to verify consistency between actions and principles. Constructive observation enhances accuracy and encourages ongoing improvement. Recognize that alignment is a lifelong practice. Perfection is not the goal, deliberate, consistent attention is. Regular effort, reflection, and adjustment create lasting coherence between identity, action, and principles. When daily actions align with respected values, life becomes more intentional, decisions clearer, and progress more meaningful. Each day builds upon the last, forming a pattern of integrity, focus, and purpose that shapes character and fosters enduring growth. Chapter 15v Strengthen character by doing difficult, necessary tasks. Character is forged through deliberate action, especially when the tasks before you are difficult, demanding, or unpleasant. Growth does not occur in moments of ease, but in the deliberate choice to confront challenges that test patience, skill, and determination. Difficult, necessary tasks are rarely optional. They are the foundations upon which resilience, integrity, and self-discipline are built. Each time you tackle a demanding responsibility, you expand your capacity for effort, endurance, and moral strength. Avoidance may feel comfortable temporarily, but it erodes confidence, weakens decision-making, and diminishes influence over your own life. Facing necessary challenges consistently reinforces self-trust and deepens understanding of what you are capable of achieving. Start by identifying the tasks that require attention yet provoke resistance. These may be projects you have postponed, responsibilities that are uncomfortable, or obligations that demand focus, effort, or courage. Recognition is the first step in transforming avoidance into deliberate action. When the mind labels a task as difficult, this signals an opportunity to strengthen character. Difficulty is the measure by which capability is revealed and expanded. Approach each task with a mindset of responsibility rather than obligation. Viewing challenging duties as opportunities rather than burdens changes internal perception and provides motivation beyond external reward. Responsibility cultivates ownership over outcomes and reinforces accountability for personal actions. Each decision to act strengthens the foundation of integrity. Break difficult tasks into smaller components. Large or complex responsibilities can create hesitation or overwhelm. Segmenting them into achievable steps provides clarity, measurable progress, and a sense of forward momentum. Completing smaller portions builds confidence and reinforces the habit of persistence in the face of difficulty. Commit to action even when motivation is low. Motivation fluctuates naturally and should not be relied upon for consistent effort. Character is reinforced when action occurs in alignment with necessity rather than mood. Developing discipline through repeated engagement ensures progress regardless of temporary emotional states. Use focus and preparation as allies. Difficult tasks are easier to manage when attention is deliberate and resources are organized. Plan steps, anticipate challenges, and prepare tools or information necessary to act efficiently. Preparedness reduces resistance and fosters consistent execution. Embrace the discomfort inherent in necessary challenges. Growth and development are rarely comfortable. Recognizing that unease is part of the process prevents avoidance and strengthens resilience. Physical, emotional, or mental discomfort signals opportunity for growth rather than failure. Maintain awareness of internal dialogue. Thoughts of doubt, avoidance, or self-criticism are natural when confronting difficulty. Observe these without yielding to them, then redirect energy toward deliberate action. Self-awareness enhances control over responses and reinforces character-building habits. Establish routines that integrate necessary tasks. Repetition solidifies the habit of facing difficulty regularly. Over time, the mind learns to approach challenging responsibilities without procrastination or internal conflict. Consistency transforms effort into identity. Practice persistence in the presence of setbacks. Challenges often reveal obstacles that cannot be avoided. Persisting through interruptions, mistakes, or delays strengthens resilience and demonstrates commitment to principle over convenience. Each act of persistence reinforces character. Focus on effort rather than external recognition. Strength of character develops internally and is measured by consistency and integrity rather than praise or reward. Acting correctly, efficiently, and courageously even when unnoticed reinforces self-respect and independence from external validation. Observe progress objectively. Difficult tasks often require time to complete. Reflecting on incremental achievements maintains motivation and encourages continuation without becoming frustrated by delayed results. Patience combined with consistent effort enhances self-discipline. Avoid rationalizing avoidance. Excuses and justifications erode the development of character. Recognize the difference between legitimate limits and self-imposed resistance. Acting decisively in the presence of minor discomfort strengthens willpower and capacity for endurance. Prioritize tasks according to impact and necessity. Some challenging duties carry greater long-term significance than others. Addressing high-priority tasks first reinforces a focus on what truly matters and trains the mind to value principle over ease. Engage fully with each task. Half-hearted effort diminishes the potential for growth. Complete attention, deliberate execution, and mindful engagement enhance skill development and reinforce ethical and personal standards. Excellence in execution strengthens self-trust and confidence. Integrate reflection with action. After completing challenging responsibilities, evaluate what was learned, how resistance was overcome, and how the process could be improved. Reflection consolidates growth and deepens understanding of personal capabilities. Recognize the cumulative effect of consistent effort. Each time a difficult task is completed, confidence increases, habits of perseverance are reinforced, and moral strength is strengthened. Over months and years, these repeated choices create a character defined by integrity, endurance, and responsibility. Develop resilience by intentionally tackling tasks that test comfort zones. Stepping beyond the familiar expands capability, reveals hidden strengths, and provides practical experience in navigating adversity. Difficulty is a training ground for adaptability and confidence. Align actions with values during challenging work. Difficult tasks often involve ethical decisions, prioritization, or responsibility toward others. Performing these tasks in alignment with principles reinforces authenticity and moral clarity. Character is strengthened when effort consistently reflects what is respected. Use accountability to reinforce action. Sharing goals or responsibilities with trusted individuals creates external reinforcement and encourages commitment to completing difficult tasks. Accountability strengthens persistence and reduces the risk of avoidance. Observe emotional responses to difficulty without allowing them to dictate behavior. Frustration, fear, or discomfort are signals, not commands. Acting despite challenging feelings strengthens discipline and establishes mastery over emotional impulses. Focus on the long-term benefits of necessary effort. Immediate discomfort is temporary, but the skills, resilience, and confidence gained endure. Understanding the enduring value of effort motivates sustained engagement, even when short-term results are not visible. Break habitual resistance patterns. Many forms of avoidance are ingrained over time. By repeatedly choosing to act despite reluctance, the mind rewires automatic responses into deliberate engagement, fostering reliability and self-determination. Celebrate completion of difficult responsibilities privately. Acknowledging the effort and discipline required reinforces internal motivation. External recognition is secondary. Internal acknowledgement solidifies the association between effort and identity. Practice humility during challenging tasks. Difficult responsibilities often require learning, adaptation, and acknowledgement of limits. Accepting these realities enhances character by balancing confidence with realistic self-assessment and continuous improvement. Observe how tackling difficult tasks influences other areas of life. Completing demanding responsibilities increases self-efficacy, reduces procrastination in unrelated tasks, and fosters a mindset that approaches challenges as opportunities. The discipline transfers across contexts. Avoid procrastination as it strengthens avoidance habits. Immediate action, even when uncomfortable, prevents the compounding of resistance. Acting decisively reduces the mental burden of unfinished tasks and reinforces reliability. Recognize that character is measured in ordinary choices, not isolated heroic moments. Consistent engagement with necessary and difficult work defines the quality of the individual. Small daily acts of commitment are as powerful as major achievements. Develop strategies for sustained energy and focus. Difficult tasks require mental stamina and physical readiness. Structuring work periods, rest intervals, and energy management ensures steady engagement and prevents burnout. Strengthen resilience through iterative effort. Each encounter with difficulty teaches problem-solving, patience, and adaptation. Repetition converts challenge into familiarity, reducing fear of the unknown and enhancing capacity for future obstacles. Integrate reflection, preparation, and deliberate action into daily life. This combination ensures that difficult necessary tasks are not avoided, that execution is deliberate, and that growth continues with each completed effort. Mastering the practice of completing challenging responsibilities transforms both ability and identity. Character develops as a natural outcome of repeatedly choosing action over avoidance. Each effort reinforces resilience, integrity, and the capacity to face future difficulties with confidence and purpose. Through consistent engagement with difficult necessary tasks, discipline solidifies, moral clarity strengthens, and personal strength grows. This deliberate approach to action establishes a foundation for a life defined by accountability, capability, and unwavering character. Chapter 6 replace excuses with honest planning and follow-through. Excuses are the silent thieves of progress. They disguise fear, uncertainty, and avoidance as legitimate reasons to delay action or diminish responsibility. Over time, reliance on excuses erodes confidence, stunts growth, and prevents meaningful achievement. Replacing excuses with honest planning and consistent follow-through is the cornerstone of personal accountability and long-term success. It begins with clarity about intentions and a commitment to bridge the gap between goals and actions. Every time a choice is made to plan and act rather than rationalize inaction, self-trust is strengthened and the capacity to achieve meaningful outcomes grows. Start by observing the excuses you habitually make. Be specific about what situations trigger rationalizations. Excuses can take many forms: lack of time, insufficient resources, fear of failure, or perceived inadequacy. Documenting these patterns brings awareness to what has been obstructing progress and allows intentional intervention. Awareness alone is insufficient unless it is paired with practical corrective action. Acknowledge the truth behind every excuse. Each rationalization often hides an actionable choice or opportunity for growth. For example, saying, "I don't have time," may indicate poor prioritization rather than genuine unavailability. Recognizing the root allows you to replace excuses with deliberate planning. Honesty with yourself is the foundation of integrity and effectiveness. Shift focus from justification to solution. Rather than explaining why a task cannot be done, ask what is required to make it happen. Define the steps, resources, and time necessary to achieve the objective. This approach transforms avoidance into actionable strategy and positions responsibility as the default response. Break goals into actionable components. Large objectives can feel overwhelming and invite excuses. By segmenting them into smaller, manageable tasks, the work becomes concrete, measurable, and achievable. Clarity reduces mental resistance and strengthens commitment to consistent follow-through. Establish a schedule that incorporates accountability. Assign specific times for tasks and hold yourself responsible for adherence. Scheduling replaces ambiguity with structure and minimizes opportunities for rationalizations to justify delay. The combination of clear planning and disciplined execution creates momentum. Anticipate obstacles in advance. Each task carries potential challenges, and anticipating them prevents excuses from gaining power. Identify possible disruptions, delays, or difficulties, and prepare contingency plans. Preparation ensures that external circumstances do not become a justification for inaction. Commit to measurable follow-through. Execution is where planning meets reality. Honest planning without action is ineffective. Track completion of tasks, note progress, and assess adherence to schedules. Visible evidence of follow-through reinforces self-discipline and reduces reliance on excuses. Cultivate a mindset of responsibility. Recognize that control over actions lies within your ability to plan and act rather than external circumstances. Accepting responsibility eliminates blame, shifting, and strengthens confidence in your capacity to create results. Responsibility is the antidote to excuses. Use reflective practice to reinforce accountability. At the end of each day, review tasks that were delayed or completed. Identify where excuses influenced behavior and determine how planning could prevent recurrence. Reflection transforms experience into actionable insight and continuous improvement. Eliminate vague goals. Ambiguity invites excuses. Clearly define objectives with specific time-bound outcomes. Precise goals reduce uncertainty, clarify effort required, and minimize justification for postponement. Specificity in planning aligns intention with action. Strengthen self-discipline through incremental steps. Begin with small commitments that are achievable and consistently executed. Early success reinforces belief in the ability to follow through. Gradually increase complexity or scale, building reliability and competence over time. Integrate accountability partners if helpful. Sharing goals with trusted peers or mentors adds external reinforcement and reduces the likelihood of rationalizing inaction. External accountability complements internal discipline and maintains momentum when motivation fluctuates. Observe internal dialogue carefully. Excuses often arise as subtle self-talk rationalizing delay. Recognize statements such as, "I will do it later," or "I can't manage this now," as signals to pause and implement planning instead. Conscious awareness transforms automatic rationalization into deliberate action. Prioritize tasks based on impact and urgency. Excuses are often tied to perceived difficulty rather than importance. Evaluating tasks by their value ensures that attention is focused on meaningful work, minimizing the power of avoidance. Planning around priorities creates efficiency and reinforces commitment. Develop practical systems for execution. Use tools such as lists, calendars, or digital reminders to structure follow-through. Systems remove ambiguity, reduce mental load, and provide tangible cues to act. Consistency in execution strengthens trust in your own reliability. Recognize the cost of excuses. Delays, missed opportunities, and compromised integrity accumulate over time. Awareness of consequences creates urgency and strengthens resolve. Each time an excuse is replaced with deliberate planning, a pattern of reliability and competence is reinforced. Celebrate consistent execution. Acknowledge completed tasks and successful follow-through even for small objectives. Recognition of effort reinforces positive habits and reduces the temptation to default to rationalization. Rewarding consistent action builds internal motivation and confidence. Adjust plans when necessary without reverting to excuses. Flexibility allows adaptation to changing circumstances while maintaining responsibility. Reframing challenges as adjustments rather than reasons to avoid tasks strengthens resilience and problem-solving capabilities. Use time blocks effectively. Designate periods for focused work where interruptions and distractions are minimized. Structured time reduces the opportunity for procrastination and excuses while promoting concentrated effort and task completion. Analyze patterns of procrastination. Identify the types of tasks or situations that trigger delay. Understanding habitual avoidance enables targeted planning to counteract excuses and maintain consistent progress. Each insight enhances self-awareness and strategic execution. Practice accountability in communication. Clearly state commitments to others when appropriate. Expressing intentions publicly increases adherence and reduces the psychological comfort of excuses. Transparent communication reinforces reliability and builds trust. Strengthen mental endurance by committing to tasks even when energy is low. Motivation fluctuates, but persistence does not require emotional highs. Acting despite fatigue or distraction reinforces discipline and ensures that progress continues without relying on transient feelings. Observe external factors without allowing them to justify inaction. Conditions may be imperfect, but using obstacles as reasons not to act perpetuates avoidance. Separate observation of reality from rationalizations and redirect energy toward practical steps that advance objectives. Reflect on long-term benefits of consistent follow-through. Each completed action compounds over time, producing measurable results, personal growth, and strengthened character. Visualizing cumulative progress increases motivation to replace excuses with deliberate execution. Anchor planning and action to core values. Tasks aligned with values create internal motivation that exceeds reliance on external incentives. When effort reflects principle, follow-through becomes inherently compelling and excuses lose influence. Develop a habit of immediate small action. When tasks are identified, act promptly on the first feasible step. Immediate engagement prevents procrastination from developing into entrenched excuses. Early momentum reinforces discipline and confidence. Reinforce learning from mistakes without rationalizing. When follow-through fails, analyze why, plan corrective measures, and implement adjustments. Avoid attributing failure to external circumstances or avoiding responsibility. Continuous improvement builds competence and eliminates reliance on justification. Observe the psychological patterns that support excuses. Often they are tied to fear of failure, discomfort, or self-doubt. Awareness allows conscious intervention through planning and incremental action rather than passive avoidance. Recognize that planning without execution is incomplete. The combination of honest preparation and committed follow-through ensures that ideas, goals, and intentions transform into tangible outcomes. Action converts intention into achievement. Through consistent replacement of excuses with deliberate planning and execution, reliability, confidence, and effectiveness grow. Each completed task reinforces the pattern of accountability, reduces mental clutter associated with rationalization, and strengthens the ability to achieve meaningful objectives. Sustained practice of this approach reshapes identity. Individuals become known for dependability, self-discipline, and integrity. Excuses diminish naturally as planning, action, and responsibility become habitual. Each day dedicated to honest effort builds momentum that compounds into lasting personal and professional success. Chapter 17. Protect your time by setting clear boundaries. Time is the most valuable resource available, yet it is easily lost when boundaries are unclear or consistently ignored. Without deliberate protection, daily hours slip away to distractions, obligations, and the demands of others, leaving little for meaningful work, growth, or personal priorities. Establishing clear boundaries is essential for preserving focus, energy, and agency over one's life. Boundaries are not a form of restriction, they are a framework that ensures actions align with intention and values. Protecting time begins with understanding what is truly important and committing to defend it consistently, without apology. Start by identifying core priorities. Determine which activities, relationships, and projects contribute meaningfully to your goals, values, and personal growth. These priorities form the foundation for time protection. Everything outside this circle must be carefully evaluated before engagement. Clarity in priorities reduces vulnerability to external pressures and prevents the diffusion of energy into trivial or misaligned tasks. Assess current patterns of time usage. Observe how daily hours are spent and note where energy and focus are consumed unnecessarily. This might include excessive social media use, reactive email management, or obligations that offer little benefit. Awareness of these patterns reveals opportunities to reclaim control and strengthen personal boundaries. Define specific limits for availability. Communicate clearly when and how others can access your time. For instance, designate periods for deep work, reflection, or personal growth, and ensure these are respected consistently. Consistency signals to yourself and others that your time is valuable and protected. Develop the skill of saying no without guilt. Many people sacrifice priorities to satisfy external demands. Learning to decline requests that conflict with goals or values is a critical component of time protection. No is not rejection of others, it is affirmation of your own priorities. Each use of no reinforces the practice of self-respect and discipline. Structure daily schedules intentionally. Assign time blocks for essential work, personal development, and rest. Planning time prevents reactive engagement and reduces the likelihood of time being consumed by distractions or external interruptions. Structured time creates a rhythm that supports focus and productivity. Recognize energy as a companion to time. Protecting time includes protecting the quality of attention and effort applied to tasks. Avoid situations that drain focus unnecessarily or deplete motivation. Efficient use of energy ensures that time spent produces meaningful results rather than wasted motion. Set boundaries for digital engagement. Limit social media messaging and email interruptions that fragment attention. Create designated times to check communications and adhere strictly to them. Digital discipline prevents external demands from intruding on productive or reflective periods. Protect time in relationships without sacrificing connection. Meaningful connections are essential, but interactions should not override personal priorities. Communicate availability clearly and ensure interactions are intentional, reciprocal, and purposeful. Balanced relationships respect your boundaries and reinforce mutual understanding. Plan for contingencies that threaten time. Unexpected demands, emergencies, or interruptions can erode focus. Prepare strategies to maintain boundaries during these events, whether through delegation, prioritization, or temporary deferral. Anticipation reduces stress and preserves intentional engagement. Practice reflection to evaluate effectiveness. At the end of each day or week, review adherence to boundaries. Identify where time was lost to avoidable distractions or unclear limits. Reflection allows adjustment and strengthens commitment to protecting hours consistently. Integrate accountability measures. Share priorities and boundaries with trusted colleagues, friends, or mentors who can help maintain consistency. External reinforcement increases adherence and reduces vulnerability to overcommitment or distraction. Eliminate low-value obligations proactively. Examine recurring tasks or commitments and assess whether they meaningfully contribute to goals or growth. Reducing or removing unnecessary responsibilities frees time for high-value engagement and reinforces control over personal priorities. Develop rituals that reinforce boundaries. Simple practices such as beginning the day with a review of priorities, closing the workspace at a designated hour, or silencing notifications during focus periods strengthen habit formation. Rituals signal intention to both the mind and the environment. Maintain flexibility without sacrificing principle. Boundaries are not rigid rules, but structures that protect what matters most. Adapt methods as needed while ensuring that core priorities are never compromised. This balance allows responsiveness without loss of control over time. Observe the effect of broken boundaries. When limits are ignored, note consequences in productivity, emotional stability, and energy levels. Awareness of these effects reinforces commitment to protection and encourages corrective action in future interactions. Use time intentionally for personal development. Allocate periods for learning, reflection, and skill acquisition. Boundaries are strengthened when time is reserved for meaningful growth rather than reactive or trivial engagement. Deliberate investment in self-improvement compounds over time. Avoid multitasking as it undermines boundary protection. Engaging in multiple activities simultaneously divides attention, reduces quality, and consumes more time than necessary. Focused action within protected time blocks ensures efficiency and effectiveness. Communicate boundaries clearly in professional settings. Establish expectations with colleagues regarding response times, availability, and priorities. Transparent communication prevents misunderstandings and ensures that work aligns with realistic time constraints. Develop self-awareness of time wasting triggers. Identify situations, people, or internal impulses that compromise boundaries. Awareness allows proactive management and the creation of strategies to redirect attention toward meaningful engagement. Use planning to prevent reactive decision-making. When daily actions are guided by deliberate scheduling and priority setting, the opportunity for boundary erosion diminishes. Preemptive planning allows the day to flow according to intention rather than external demands. Monitor personal habits that erode focus. Unintentional routines such as excessive browsing, idle conversation, or overcommitment gradually consume significant time. Replace these with disciplined actions aligned with priorities to reclaim control. Practice assertiveness in enforcing boundaries. Clearly, calmly, and consistently communicate limits to others. Avoid over-explaining or apologizing excessively. Assertiveness ensures that your intentions are respected and reduces future intrusion. Recognize the relationship between boundaries and long-term success. Time invested deliberately and protected consistently compounds into meaningful achievements, skill development, and personal growth. Each protected hour reinforces independence and capability. Balance protection with generosity. While boundaries are necessary, they do not preclude supporting others when appropriate. Align support with priorities, ensuring that giving does not compromise essential commitments. Controlled generosity maintains integrity and purpose. Anchor daily routines to values. Activities that reflect core principles deserve protection, while trivial engagements should be limited. Boundaries reinforce alignment between action and purpose, making time management a reflection of character. Reflect on cumulative benefits. Regularly maintaining boundaries builds habits that increase efficiency, reduce stress, and enhance clarity. Over weeks and months, protected time produces substantial growth and achievement. Observe energy, focus, and satisfaction as indicators of effective boundaries. When boundaries are maintained, work feels purposeful, attention remains sharp, and accomplishment is more evident. Disruption in these indicators signals a need to adjust or reinforce limits. Recognize that time protection is a continual practice. Life circumstances, priorities, and demands change. Maintaining clear boundaries requires regular evaluation, adjustment, and reinforcement to ensure alignment with evolving goals. Through deliberate creation and enforcement of boundaries, time becomes a controlled and productive resource. Each decision to protect hours, prioritize tasks, and respect personal limits strengthens autonomy, focus, and resilience. Consistency in this practice establishes a life where energy and attention are devoted intentionally enabling sustained progress, meaningful achievements, and personal fulfillment. Chapter 18. Practice gratitude daily to stabilize emotional balance. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating emotional stability and resilience. Practicing gratitude daily is not about ignoring challenges or pretending life is perfect. It is about intentionally shifting focus toward what is present, meaningful, and supportive. When attention is anchored in appreciation, the mind becomes less reactive to stress, frustration, and negativity. Gratitude strengthens mental clarity, reduces emotional turbulence, and fosters a sense of contentment that persists despite external circumstances. Emotional balance is not a natural state for most people. It requires conscious practice, and gratitude is one of the most direct methods to achieve it consistently. Begin by observing the small aspects of life often taken for granted. This could include basic health, shelter, nourishment, or personal abilities. Recognizing these fundamental elements as valuable shifts the mind away from scarcity thinking. Awareness of what is already available reduces tension created by comparisons or unmet desires. Establish a daily ritual for gratitude. It may be morning reflection, journaling, or a few moments of quiet recognition before sleep. The consistency of daily practice ensures that gratitude becomes habitual rather than occasional. Habits of appreciation build a foundation for emotional stability over time. Identify 3 specific things each day to appreciate. These should be concrete and personal rather than abstract or generic. Focus on experiences, actions, or qualities in yourself or others that bring value to your life. Specificity enhances the authenticity of gratitude and strengthens emotional impact. Connect gratitude to lived experiences. Acknowledge challenges that were overcome, lessons learned, or opportunities for growth. Recognizing how adversity contributed to strength encourages perspective and reduces emotional reactivity. Emotional stability is strengthened when gratitude includes both positive and difficult experiences. Practice expressing gratitude to others. Verbalizing appreciation reinforces connections, fosters trust, and encourages positive social interactions. Relationships grounded in acknowledgement and respect are more stable and supportive, contributing to overall emotional balance. Observe emotional changes when gratitude is practiced. Awareness of subtle shifts in mood, patience, and resilience reinforces the habit. Consistent monitoring helps maintain focus on benefits and encourages sustained engagement. The more noticeable the effect, the stronger the motivation to continue daily practice. Use journaling as a tool for reflection and reinforcement. Writing down things you are grateful for allows clarity and permanence, transforming fleeting thoughts into tangible records. Reviewing these entries over time provides evidence of progress, patterns, and abundance, reinforcing emotional stability. Anchor gratitude in the body as well as the mind. Physical awareness of well-being, comfort, and capability strengthens emotional grounding. Noticing breath, posture, or energy while reflecting on positive elements creates a holistic sense of balance. Avoid comparing yourself to others when practicing gratitude. Comparisons often generate envy or dissatisfaction, undermining emotional stability. Focus entirely on personal experience, values, and achievements to maintain authenticity and internal balance. Develop awareness of the triggers that disrupt emotional balance. Identifying situations, people, or environments that evoke stress allows conscious application of gratitude to counteract negative reactions. Gratitude becomes a stabilizing response rather than a passive reflection. Use gratitude to reframe setbacks and difficulties. Instead of dwelling on loss, consider what can be learned, how resilience is strengthened, or what resources remain. Reframing through appreciation transforms adversity into a source of growth and reduces emotional volatility. Integrate gratitude into daily tasks. Even mundane activities such as cleaning, cooking, or commuting can be approached with acknowledgement of the opportunity, the skill involved, or the comfort they provide. Intentional awareness during routine actions extends the stabilizing effects of gratitude throughout the day. Observe the influence of gratitude on decision-making. Emotional balance achieved through appreciation reduces impulsive reactions, increases clarity, and encourages choices aligned with long-term objectives. Stability in emotions leads to stability in actions and outcomes. Reinforce gratitude by acknowledging progress in personal growth. Celebrate small accomplishments, persistence, and effort applied to improvement. Recognizing these factors cultivates satisfaction and reduces negative self-criticism that can destabilize emotions. Combine gratitude with mindfulness. Being present in each moment while acknowledging value fosters a deep sense of emotional equilibrium. Mindful awareness amplifies the effect of gratitude by grounding attention in experience rather than projection or worry. Protect time for gratitude reflection. Schedule moments free from distraction to engage fully with appreciation. Intentional allocation signals the importance of emotional balance and reinforces the practice as a priority rather than an afterthought. Teach gratitude through action. Model appreciation to others in relationships, work, and social interactions. Observing the effects of gratitude in others reinforces its value and provides external reinforcement for continued practice. Monitor thought patterns that undermine emotional stability. Negative self-talk, rumination, or habitual complaint weaken balance. Apply gratitude deliberately to redirect focus toward constructive and positive elements of experience. Repetition strengthens the mental habit of resilience. Incorporate sensory awareness into gratitude practice. Notice visual, auditory, tactile, or olfactory experiences that bring pleasure or comfort. Engaging the senses deepens emotional response and stabilizes mood by anchoring attention in tangible reality. Use gratitude to enhance problem solving. Emotional balance reduces stress and increases clarity, allowing for more effective decisions when challenges arise. Recognizing what is working and what resources are available supports practical solutions rather than reactive responses. Reflect on long-term benefits of daily gratitude. Emotional resilience accumulates over months and years as consistent practice fosters a stable perspective, reduces reactive tendencies, and strengthens mental endurance. Over time, gratitude creates a framework for responding calmly and effectively to life's uncertainties. Acknowledge limitations without judgment. Recognizing areas for growth while appreciating existing capacities balances humility and confidence. Emotional stability is maintained when awareness of limitations is coupled with gratitude for abilities, opportunities, and resources. Create reminders of gratitude in your environment. Notes, visual cues or designated objects can reinforce attention toward appreciation and help sustain daily practice even in stressful periods. Environmental reinforcement strengthens habit formation. Recognize that gratitude affects both perception and action. Stabilizing emotions through appreciation encourages proactive engagement with challenges, healthier relationships, and deliberate progress toward goals. Emotional equilibrium becomes a platform for achievement rather than a passive state. Practice gratitude as a preventive measure. Integrating appreciation into the start of the day sets a stable tone for thoughts, decisions, and actions, reducing susceptibility to stress and impulsive reactions. Early reinforcement shapes patterns of behavior throughout daily life. Anchor gratitude in core values. Appreciation is most effective when it aligns with what matters most to you. Recognition of achievements, relationships, opportunities, and personal qualities that reflect values strengthens emotional balance and reinforces principled living. Reflect on the interconnectedness of experiences. Recognize how challenges, successes, and daily interactions contribute to growth. Gratitude for the complexity and richness of life fosters perspective and reduces emotional instability caused by focusing narrowly on difficulties. Observe how gratitude influences interactions with others. Emotional stability achieved through daily appreciation allows for more constructive communication, patience, and empathy, reducing conflict and reinforcing harmonious relationships. Commit to the consistency of practice. Daily engagement, even for brief periods, accumulates over time. The compounding effect of regular gratitude transforms mental patterns, reinforces stability, and cultivates a sense of well-being that endures despite external pressures. Through deliberate daily practice of gratitude, emotional balance becomes an attainable, reliable state. Attention focused on recognition, appreciation, and reflection stabilizes the mind, fosters resilience, and enhances clarity in decision-making. Over time, gratitude becomes a foundational habit, creating sustained inner calm, mental strength, and the capacity to respond to life with equanimity, clarity, and purpose. Chapter 19. Accept uncertainty while continuing purposeful daily action. Life is inherently unpredictable, and uncertainty is an unavoidable element of every day. No matter how carefully plans are made, circumstances change, outcomes shift, and events unfold beyond control. Accepting uncertainty is not resignation or passivity. It is recognizing reality as it is while still committing to purposeful action. True progress does not come from waiting for perfect conditions, but from moving forward despite the unknown. Daily action grounded in intention transforms uncertainty from a source of fear into a space for growth and opportunity. Embracing uncertainty while acting consistently builds resilience, strengthens character, and cultivates a practical confidence that can navigate any situation. Start by acknowledging what cannot be controlled. External events, other people's choices, and future outcomes exist outside direct influence. Awareness of this boundary allows focus to shift to what is actionable. Energy applied to uncontrollable factors often leads to frustration and stagnation. Recognizing limits creates clarity in decision making and allows time and effort to be concentrated where it is most effective. Define clear purpose for your daily actions. When uncertainty is high, clear objectives act as a compass. Purpose ensures that even if outcomes are unknown, actions remain aligned with values and long-term goals. A strong sense of purpose transforms uncertainty from paralysis into a field of opportunity where deliberate effort produces meaningful progress. Break tasks into manageable steps. Facing uncertainty can make large goals feel overwhelming. By focusing on small, actionable steps, progress remains tangible and consistent. Incremental achievement builds confidence and momentum, demonstrating that forward motion is possible even without certainty of outcome. Accept that outcomes are separate from effort. Results may vary despite diligent work. Recognizing this distinction prevents discouragement and allows commitment to action to remain steady. Effort is always within control, and cultivating the habit of consistent action ensures that progress continues regardless of uncontrollable variables. Cultivate flexibility in approach. Plans must adapt to changing circumstances, new information, and unforeseen obstacles. Flexibility does not equate to indecision. It is a strategic response to uncertainty that preserves momentum while adjusting methods. Resilience is strengthened when action continues even as conditions shift. Use reflection to guide adaptive learning. Daily review of actions, outcomes, and experiences allows lessons to emerge from uncertainty. Reflecting on what works, what fails, and why provides insight to refine future actions. Learning becomes an active process rather than a reactionary one, reinforcing purposeful engagement. Focus attention on controllable elements. Energy spent managing reactions, preparation, and consistent habits produces results even in unpredictable environments. Concentrating on controllable factors reduces anxiety, strengthens discipline, and allows action to be directed toward tangible improvement. Develop emotional resilience to handle unpredictability. Accepting uncertainty requires mental stability and composure. Practices such as mindfulness, deliberate breathing, and reflective journaling stabilize emotions, enabling clear thinking and deliberate action even when circumstances are unclear or stressful. Set boundaries against reactive behavior. Uncertainty often triggers impulsive reactions or overcompensation. Intentional planning and disciplined action prevent unnecessary decisions driven by fear or anxiety. Purposeful behavior ensures that each action is aligned with objectives rather than dictated by shifting circumstances. Anchor daily routines in consistency. Regular schedules, habits, and rituals provide structure in the midst of unpredictability. Consistent practices create a stable framework that allows energy to be applied to meaningful actions rather than being lost to chaos or distraction. Focus on presence rather than outcomes. Concentrating on the current task rather than fixating on unknown results reduces stress and increases effectiveness. Intentional attention to the present moment ensures that each step is deliberate, productive, and aligned with purpose, regardless of uncertainty. Anticipate challenges as opportunities. Unexpected obstacles are inevitable. Viewing them as situations to learn from, rather than threats, transforms uncertainty into a catalyst for growth. Preparedness combined with adaptability ensures that progress continues despite difficulties. Develop patience as a daily practice. Uncertainty often requires waiting, adjusting, and continuing effort without immediate confirmation of success. Patience allows sustained action without surrendering to frustration or discouragement. Maintaining consistent forward motion, reinforce self-trust through action. Each time purposeful effort is applied in the face of unknown outcomes, confidence in personal capability grows. Trust in one's ability to navigate uncertainty strengthens resilience and encourages continued engagement even in complex or unpredictable circumstances. Maintain clarity of intention when results are unclear. When outcomes fluctuate, aligning actions with personal values, principles, and long-term objectives ensures that work remains meaningful. Intentionality provides direction, reducing the risk of reactive or misguided choices. Use visualization to prepare for variability. Imagining potential scenarios and responses equips the mind to act decisively when faced with unforeseen events. Mental rehearsal increases confidence, reduces hesitation, and enables deliberate execution even when conditions are unstable. Balance preparation with acceptance. Planning for potential outcomes is valuable, but obsession over predicting results creates rigidity and stress. Accepting that uncertainty is part of life allows flexibility and reduces emotional strain while maintaining commitment to action. Observe patterns in uncertain situations. Over time, recurring challenges and unexpected events reveal consistent elements. Recognizing these patterns allows proactive adjustment and more effective action in future uncertain circumstances. Awareness enhances preparedness without sacrificing adaptability. Anchor actions in values and principles. When external conditions are unpredictable, internal standards provide stability. Decisions guided by values rather than circumstance maintain integrity and consistency, ensuring that actions remain meaningful despite uncertain outcomes. Build incremental resilience by taking calculated risks. Each step taken in uncertainty strengthens the capacity to handle future unpredictability. Small, deliberate risks cultivate courage, competence, and adaptability, reinforcing the habit of purposeful action despite unknowns. Reframe uncertainty as opportunity. Rather than viewing unpredictability as a threat, it can be understood as a space for growth, learning, and innovation. Purposeful action in uncertain conditions allows progress that would be impossible under rigid control or waiting for perfect conditions. Recognize that control is an illusion in many areas. Accepting this reality reduces anxiety, prevents wasted energy, and encourages focus on actions that can produce results. Liberation from the illusion of total control creates clarity and reinforces deliberate effort. Maintain accountability for your own actions. Regardless of external circumstances, responsibility for consistent engagement lies with the individual. Accepting uncertainty does not excuse inaction, it reinforces the importance of deliberate effort and self-discipline. Celebrate progress in spite of unpredictability. Acknowledging effort, learning, and adaptation reinforces resilience and encourages continued action. Recognition of forward motion, even when outcomes are unclear, strengthens confidence and motivation. Use setbacks as information, not judgment. Failures and unexpected results provide data to guide future action. Viewing these experiences as constructive rather than personal defeats enables ongoing purposeful engagement and emotional stability. Practice flexibility without abandoning objectives. Adapting methods to shifting conditions preserves the trajectory toward goals. Consistent alignment with purpose ensures that uncertainty influences approach rather than disrupting progress. Anchor motivation in internal factors. External conditions are often unpredictable, but internal commitment, values, and discipline remain reliable drivers of consistent action. Motivation rooted internally sustains momentum when external certainty is absent. Reinforce habits of reflection, adaptation, and execution. Daily attention to these practices transforms uncertainty from a source of fear into a natural part of effective living. Over time, the mind becomes accustomed to acting with clarity, purpose, and resilience regardless of unpredictability. Through consistent acceptance of uncertainty coupled with deliberate, purposeful daily action, Life becomes navigable even in the face of unpredictability. Each step taken despite unknown outcomes strengthens resilience, enhances self-trust, and develops an adaptive capacity to respond to challenges. Purposeful engagement within uncertainty creates a foundation for sustained achievement, emotional stability, and confidence that progress is always possible regardless of what the future holds. Chapter 20. Commit to lifelong learning through reflection and practice. Lifelong learning is the cornerstone of growth, resilience, and meaningful progress. Committing to continuous learning requires more than occasional study or sporadic curiosity. It demands deliberate reflection, consistent practice, and the courage to evolve over time. Knowledge and skill are not fixed, and the world constantly changes, presenting new challenges, opportunities, and perspectives. By embracing the principle of lifelong learning, individuals remain adaptable, relevant, and capable of navigating uncertainty while improving themselves steadily. Learning is not just the accumulation of information, but the development of insight, judgment, and practical ability that can be applied in daily life to produce real results. Begin by acknowledging that every experience contains a lesson. Life provides constant feedback through successes, failures, interactions, and challenges. Observing patterns, evaluating outcomes, and questioning assumptions allows understanding to deepen. Reflection transforms experience into actionable knowledge, enabling personal growth even from difficult or uncomfortable situations. Create a habit of daily reflection. Take time each day to review actions, decisions, and results, identifying what worked well, what could improve, and what was learned. Honest self-assessment prevents repeated mistakes, reinforces effective strategies, and builds self-awareness. Over time, reflection becomes a tool for continuous refinement of both thought and behavior. Pair reflection with deliberate practice. Learning is most effective when insights are applied consistently. Skills, habits, and knowledge solidify through repetition, experimentation, and focused effort. Committing to practice ensures that understanding is not theoretical but embodied and actionable. Progress may feel slow initially, but steady repetition compounds into mastery. Set specific learning objectives. Lifelong learning thrives when guided by intentional goals rather than random exploration. Define areas for improvement, topics to explore, or skills to acquire. Clear objectives provide direction, create measurable progress, and increase motivation to engage consistently. Embrace curiosity as a guiding force. Question assumptions, seek alternative perspectives, and explore new ideas. Curiosity fuels engagement and opens the mind to possibilities that routine thinking may overlook. A curious approach transforms ordinary experiences into opportunities for learning and insight. Accept that failure is an essential part of learning. Errors, setbacks, and misunderstandings provide valuable information about gaps in knowledge, flawed assumptions, and areas for improvement. Viewing failure as feedback rather than judgment encourages risk-taking, experimentation, and the courage to expand capabilities. Observe the application of knowledge in real-world situations. The value of learning lies in its practical implementation. Testing ideas, strategies, and insights in daily life validates understanding and strengthens competence. Action-based learning accelerates growth more effectively than theoretical study alone. Maintain humility in the pursuit of knowledge. Recognize that mastery is a continuous process and that there is always more to learn. Humility allows openness to new ideas, willingness to adapt, and receptivity to feedback from diverse sources. Avoiding overconfidence ensures steady growth and prevents stagnation. Leverage feedback as a critical component of learning. Seek input from peers, mentors, and experiences to identify blind spots and enhance understanding. Constructive feedback accelerates development by revealing areas that might be overlooked during personal reflection. Balance depth with breadth. Deep expertise in a specific area should be complemented by exposure to broader ideas and disciplines. Cross-disciplinary learning fosters creativity, critical thinking, and adaptability by providing multiple frameworks to understand challenges and opportunities. Integrate learning into routines. Allocate dedicated time each day or week for study, practice, and reflection. Structured engagement ensures that learning is habitual rather than sporadic, creating cumulative progress that compounds over time. Document insights and progress. Journaling, note-taking, or digital records provide a tangible reference for reflection and review. Recording lessons learned, successes, failures, and strategies consolidates memory and provides a roadmap for future growth. Observe patterns in personal development. Recognize recurring obstacles, strengths, and tendencies in thinking and behavior. Identifying patterns allows targeted interventions, more effective practice, and refined strategies for continued improvement. Challenge comfort zones regularly. Growth occurs when learning stretches abilities, thinking, and behavior beyond familiar territory. Deliberately confronting complexity, difficulty, and discomfort enhances adaptability and resilience, reinforcing the benefits of lifelong learning. Engage with mentors, peers, and communities of learning. Collaborative environments provide diverse perspectives, accountability, and shared knowledge. Learning in isolation limits exposure to alternative approaches, whereas interaction fosters deeper understanding and practical insight. Apply learning to decision-making. Use acquired knowledge and skills to make more informed, deliberate choices. Reflection combined with application ensures that learning translates into real-world effectiveness, reinforcing its relevance and value. Evaluate progress periodically. Set milestones, review accomplishments, and adjust strategies as necessary. Regular evaluation ensures that learning remains purposeful, relevant, and aligned with personal goals, preventing drift or stagnation. Cultivate resilience through iterative improvement. Lifelong learning involves repeated cycles of trying, failing, reflecting, and adjusting. This iterative process strengthens mental endurance, flexibility, and confidence in the ability to handle challenges effectively. Explore diverse sources of learning. Books, experiences, conversations, observation, and formal education all contribute to growth. Exposure to varied perspectives enhances critical thinking, empathy, and the ability to integrate complex information into practical understanding. Maintain focus on actionable outcomes. Knowledge without application produces limited benefit. Ensure that each learning activity is accompanied by steps to integrate insights into daily behavior, habits, and decisions. Action transforms knowledge into skill and skill into progress. Reflect on personal values in conjunction with learning. Align new insights, practices, and knowledge with principles that guide meaningful living. Integration of values and learning ensures that growth strengthens character, purpose, and consistency in life choices. Commit to learning as a lifelong identity rather than a temporary effort. View personal growth as a continuous journey without a fixed endpoint. Internalizing the principle of perpetual improvement fosters resilience, adaptability, and a mindset that welcomes challenges and opportunities alike. Balance learning with practical implementation. Avoid excessive accumulation of theory without testing or practice. Application consolidates knowledge, reveals gaps, and reinforces both skill and confidence. Lifelong learning is a dynamic cycle of reflection, acquisition, and practical integration. Develop patience in the learning process. Mastery and insight require time and repeated effort. Avoid discouragement when progress is gradual. Consistency over time ensures deep understanding and sustainable improvement. Observe the transformative power of continuous reflection. Regular examination of actions, thoughts, and outcomes amplifies learning, clarifies priorities, and reveals opportunities for refinement. Reflection strengthens judgment and deepens wisdom beyond the accumulation of facts. Celebrate growth milestones. Recognizing achievements, skill development, and knowledge gained reinforces commitment and motivation. Appreciation of progress, even incremental, sustains engagement and enthusiasm for continued learning. Integrate learning with adaptability. As new information emerges, be willing to adjust strategies, beliefs, and approaches. Flexibility ensures relevance, effectiveness, and resilience in a constantly changing environment. Foster a mindset of active engagement. Curiosity, reflection, and consistent practice are amplified when learning is approached intentionally rather than passively. Active engagement accelerates understanding and strengthens the capacity to translate knowledge into meaningful action. Through steadfast commitment to lifelong learning, reflection, and practice, growth becomes a perpetual process that strengthens mind, character, and capability. Daily attention to understanding, applying, and refining knowledge ensures that skills and wisdom evolve alongside challenges and opportunities. Learning becomes an integral part of life, producing not only competence but resilience, clarity, and a purposeful capacity to navigate the complexities of existence with confidence, insight, and deliberate action.